The following is a special presentation of the Outside Blitz. And now, here are your hosts, the fabulous Scotty Fraytown and the Cannonball, Alex Steele.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Outside Blitz. I am your host, the fabulous one, Scotty Fraytown, along with my co-host, the Cannonball, Alex Steele. Alex, welcome back to the show.
Hey, what up, dude? Coming at you live from the Steele Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan. I've got my gear on. Scotty has his gear on, the USC Trojans hat. Folks, I only have one thing to say. We're back.
Yes, sir, we are. Football is back, and the Outside Blitz is back every single week for the entire NFL season, all the way through Super Bowl Sunday. So we're getting fired up for that. Alex, I mean, we're already excited for this season and beyond. We're excited for the NFL Combine. We're making preparations for that down in Indianapolis. So we're going to get ready to start, getting that prepared and, get all the accommodations ready. I'm fired up for our trip to Indy. I'm just so excited for football, man. It's just been an exciting week. Last week, college football started off. My USC Trojans kicked off with a nice 73-13 win. I'm fired up, man. And games have kicked off. We've got two games that have happened already. One on Thursday Night Football. That was our opener. Cowboys-Eagles. We'll discuss that momentarily, as well as last night's game out in Sao Paulo. We had the Chiefs and the Chargers. We'll also be discussing that shortly. Not joining us today is the bootleg better. Boots, unfortunately, we had ourselves a little scheduling conflict. It was on my end. It was my fault. Unfortunately, I apologize to Boots. Sometimes family calls, and that's what I wound up dealing with. So I had to handle some business. But, folks, we are here. We are live. Alex and I are going to jump in. This is why we have a three-man team. We can jump in and we don't miss these episodes. We're excited. We are 24 hours away from the first football Sunday. It's like the Sabbath around here.
Absolutely. We're always here for our Blitz babies. So, whenever, things happen, we have this three-man team, because the one thing we want to make sure we do is to provide you with the content that you guys have come to know and love and to expect at the quality that you have expected. So, that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. We try and bring you the absolute best content you could ask for out here that we can provide. So we're excited. We're fired up. And football is here. Alex, we've got some stuff to jump into here. And this one is kind of an exciting thing. We are going to be jumping into our first two games of the week. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right. That's what I like to hear. Thanks, Mario. Here we go. Jumping into our first two games of the year. Here are our scores for the first two games of the season. Starting out with the Cowboys and the Eagles. The Eagles go out and beat the Cowboys 24-20 at home. Look, this game was kind of interesting. I don't feel like the Eagles played their best ball in this game. They did not look like the Eagles of yesteryear, I will say. And they still get away with a win here. But, man, there were some interesting things. First of all, Saquon Barkley didn't get going as much as we expected him to, just 60 yards on the day. I didn't expect that. I also didn't expect Jalen Hurts to outrush him by 2 yards. The rushing champion gets outrushed by his quarterback. I also found it kind of interesting that the two leading receivers for the Eagles were Jahan Dotson with 3 receptions for 59 yards and Dallas Goedert with 7 receptions for 44 yards. It almost looked like a Joe Brady offense out there. It was insane. The A.J. Brown got 1 target. 1. I don't understand how a receiver as good as A.J. Brown gets 1 target and it doesn't come until there's 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It was nuts. It was like watching Stephon Diggs over in Buffalo when Joe Brady took over, and we're over here again. A.J. Brown being used as an over-glorified decoy. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I saw this last night unfold. We were all watching together, and as you know, A.J. Brown is a prominent, role. He plays a prominent role in our fantasy football leagues. He's very heavily rostered, very heavily started. So, it's definitely disappointing to see that Philadelphia just wasn't throwing the ball to him. Now, could it have been that, the corner that was covering him was doing an ample job of making sure to shut him down? I mean, that's an argument that could possibly be made. But then the Eagles still put up 24 points because basically this was definitely a rushing affair. I mean, you got Javonte Williams on the other side, 15 carries, 54 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Where was this guy last year when he was with Denver? It just doesn't make sense. And I will say that, Javonte Williams, he did show some juice. We got to see if we're going to see if there's more there. It's a promising start, but time will tell if the wheels are going to keep greasing, as they say.
Yeah, there were certain things about it was definitely, like you said, a rushing game. But if you look at the numbers for these running backs, they were almost daring the opposing quarterback to throw the ball. Javonte Williams, 15 carries for 54 yards, but if you look at the running, he had a 3.6 average. It really wasn't anything spectacular. And then on the Eagles side, the rushing champion, Saquon Barkley, had 3.3 for his average. So, I mean, on 18 carries, 60 yards. So, I mean, a 3.3 average for Saquon Barkley isn't anything spectacular. And look, a lot of people, including the man himself, CeeDee Lamb, he's out here crucifying himself. He had 4 costly drops in this game.
Horrible drops.
Yeah, they were horrible drops, I mean, in his hands. But it's not to say that CeeDee Lamb had a bad game. He had 7 receptions for 110 yards in this game and mind you, that's 110 yards of Dak Prescott's 188. So all but 78 yards of Dak Prescott's yardage went to CeeDee Lamb in this game. Kind of an interesting split there. But, I mean, and George Pickens, interestingly quiet in this game. And I understand it's a new offense. I understand it's like you're the new guy in town. But just 3 receptions for 30 yards for George Pickens was kind of interesting. There were a few interesting things that occurred in this game, though. I mean, the most notable being the Jalen Carter spit thing. That was just an interesting.
Yes, Spitgate, as we call it.
I mean, but what's crazy about it is Dak Prescott comes forward, and the thing that didn't get caught on camera
at the time, at least.
Yeah, is Dak Prescott is spitting first in Jalen Carter's direction, and Jalen Carter spits back. I mean, damn near right in his face. And, I mean, it hit him in the jersey, right in front of the referee, right on camera for the world to see. Jalen Carter gets ejected from this game on the very first play.
Not even the very first play. It was just after kickoff. So, yeah. Okay, we got to do this. Big dummy.
Yeah, exactly. It was just so stupid. And Dak Prescott, he thought he was – you could see him kind of laughing about it on the sidelines. Like, he was basically like, I got this dude. I got him kicked out of the game. And that's when their game plan changed.
Yep.
A lot of running Saquon Barkley, a lot of Jalen Hurts, making these off-schedule plays. That's basically what we got out of this. And, Boots, he sent us some notes. He said Philly didn't play their best game, but Dallas probably did. Jalen Carter, come on, man.
Come on, man.
He says Javonte Williams did show some juice, but we'll have to see if there's more. I mean, that's basically what it is. And the thing about Javonte Williams, in spite of the fact that he got in the end zone twice, which I did not have on my bingo card for this game.
Right.
He's oft injured. It's we need to see more. And we know Javonte Williams can kind of, he's got something, right? He's a decent running back. But I always question the durability of Javonte Williams. I never put all my eggs in that Javonte Williams basket.
Yeah.
It's just he's one little injury away from being out for 8 games, and I'm just waiting for it. He's just been so hurt throughout his entire time in Denver. That's why they were okay letting him go to free agency and going after RJ Harvey in the draft. It's going to be interesting to see, and I've used that term a lot because that's what this game was. It was just interesting.
Right.
A lot of crazy things happening, a lot of weird things happening, just out of control. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about the Chiefs and the Chargers. That one from Sao Paulo last night. Boots sends the notes. The Worthy injury took a lot of steam out of the Chiefs. Kansas City had a fantastic end-of-half drive for a field goal with great special teams coaching and timing. I agree with that. Kansas City needed to run the ball to more to steady the tide. The Chargers looked good for the most part. O'Marion Hampton looked good. The O-line held up given the circumstances. Both Herbert and Mahomes were off a bit at times, but Herbert made a nice play to seal the deal. Good job. And I think that kind of sums up this game really in a nutshell. First of all, the running attack was not there for Kansas City. They really struggled.
No, sir.
Get the ball moving on the ground. Isaiah Pacheco, he struggled, man. Patrick Mahomes is their leading rusher. Again, the quarterback outgaining the running backs here. Mahomes had 6 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown. Pacheco, 5 carries for 25 yards. And it made me wonder, like, for a guy that's getting a 5 average, why Isaiah Pacheco wasn't given the ball more. It just kind of was concerning, I guess. One of the big things about this game, though, were kind of the unspoken, heroes of the Chiefs, though, that were getting involved. Guys like Hollywood Brown, who we haven't seen really do much in a minute. 10 receptions for 99 yards in this game. It's like, where did you come from? Last year, he had the shoulder injury. He was out for the whole year. Now he comes back in, and we get a little bit more out of Hollywood Brown. Same with Juju Smith-Schuster. He comes back to the Chiefs right after leaving for a year. He gets 5 receptions for 55 yards in this one. Travis Kelce, again, very quiet here. 2 receptions for 47 yards. He did get a touchdown, and it was the only touchdown thrown by Mahomes in this game. But it's kind of telling that Travis Kelce, the Chiefs, and they just haven't looked like the Chiefs of old. They haven't looked like the Chiefs of yesteryear that we've seen go to so many Super Bowls, and we talked about it all last year.
Yep.
You and I, especially, I know Boots was big on the Chiefs, but you and I talked about it all last year, how we kind of felt like this Chiefs team wasn't definitively winning games. They were just escaping games. And this is kind of what we're seeing here, right?
Yep. This is evident. The proof is in the pudding here. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight the stats from Justin Herbert. Listen to this stat line. 25 for 34, 318 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then you get yourself in a situation where it's 2-minute warning time. The Chiefs have burned all of their timeouts. And it's 3rd and long. I mean, we're guaranteeing that it's going to be, Patrick Mahomes is going to get the ball back and he's going to make a comeback. I bet. Wide open field. The defensive line and the offensive line allow for nothing but green space. What does Justin Herbert do? Straps on the rocket skates, gets past the sticks, and slides like the professional he really is. With heads-up football like that, that is why he has taken such a giant leap forward. The two of us, we've always said that man's going to have a bust in Canton. And this right here is a signature win. Yes. I think he may have had other signature wins before, but ladies and gentlemen, this is a signature win for Justin Herbert. Huge opportunity.
Yeah, this is and you took the words right out of my mouth. I was just about to say exactly what you said. We talk about signature wins. This is a signature win for him. Going out, beating the reigning defending champions, and doing it, whether it was in Sao Paulo or in Kansas City or wherever, they go out, and technically this was a road game for the Chargers because they were in Sao Paulo, even though they were considered the home team. Let's understand that the Chiefs are the world champions, and you're down in a foreign country. You're not in your home stadium. You're not in your home area here. And so this is technically a home game that they had to give up and turn it essentially into a road game. And they go out there and they win 27-21. And Justin Herbert, he put on the hero cape here, and he ended this thing. And it was one of those defining moments where he came in and he defeated one of the defending world champions here, and he did it on his own accord, and looked like a true pro in this game. I mean, spreading the ball out well. Quentin Johnston, 5 receptions, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ladd McConkey, 6 receptions for 74 yards. Keenan Allen, 7 for 68 and a touchdown. Welcome back, Keenan Allen.
Yep.
I mean, O'Marion Hampton didn't have a really great average, you're not going to run the ball well against the Chiefs. The Chiefs' defense is still a very good defense, and Chris Jones is still in the middle of that defense.
And can I say something about Omarion Hampton, though? The dude is explosive. Mm-hmm. I mean, if this guy's able to turn the Jets on, he closed space. Unlike any running back I've seen recently in the last couple of years. I mean, there are other running backs that are more profound and that are more, tough and, and that can lower the boom and are explosive in that way. But Omarion Hampton, he has rocket skates. I use that term a lot, but I mean, it's appropriate here. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I agree, and he's not afraid to get downhill and lower that shoulder. Everybody kind of talked about him as a more of a power runner than anything, and he showed he's got some oomph to the running speed here. I was pretty impressed with Omarion Hampton in spite of like the lower average. Like I said, Chris Jones in the middle of that defense, right? Chris Jones will eat you alive. But I mean, at the end of the day, Justin Herbert was the guy here, and this is you got to realize, and people got to realize. This is just the second year of the Harbaugh regime, right? And year one, he made them a playoff team. This is like the MO for Jim Harbaugh, where he comes in and he takes quarterbacks that everybody is kind of like down on. Remember, they were all down on Alex Smith, for those several years when it was Mike Singletary over there as their head coach. In comes Jim Harbaugh, and next thing you know, they're going to an NFC title game, right?
Yeah.
We see this all the time, and now and then you saw Alex Smith go to Kansas City, and Alex Smith with Andy Reid. Again, Andy Reid is one of those guys where he can turn a quarterback around.
Yep.
And here it is, Jim Harbaugh turning Justin Herbert's career around after Justin Herbert has been in this league for now. We're on year 6 for Justin Herbert, and he's been sitting under the tutelage of whether it was Brandon Staley or whomever. He has not had a really good head coach for a long time. And in comes Jim Harbaugh, who understands quarterbacks. As a former NFL quarterback himself, as a former Michigan quarterback, he understands this. He understands how to play. And Harbaugh likes to do power run football, which is why he likes guys like Omarion Hampton. But when it comes to nut cut time and it comes to Jim Harbaugh telling these quarterbacks and teaching these quarterbacks what to do, the proof is in the pudding, as you said. You can see the numbers here. 25 for 34 for 318. That's really accurate. That's a lot of yardage. And 3 touchdowns, no picks, no turnovers here. So we played mistake-free football here. This is a really good Chargers team. I had been touting them all offseason. I believe that they're going to win this division. And I think that the Chiefs right now, I think our sort of prophecy in a way is coming true, that the Chiefs were escaping football games last year en route to making it to the Super Bowl. And guess what? I don't think this is the same Chiefs team. I believe that this Chiefs team currently is what I like to call the Brady drought, where on a 10-year drought where Tom Brady didn't go to a Super Bowl and didn't win jack squat except a lot of playoff appearances. I think that's what you're about to get out of the Kansas City Chiefs, judging by what I saw on Thursday night. This team looked out of sync. They looked lost. They looked like they couldn't handle what the Chargers defense was doing. The Chargers defense, good tackling. They were harassing Mahomes. They were breaking through that offensive line. Jawan Taylor, as per the usual, looked just lost and drawing penalties. I mean, it's like Jawan Taylor drew another penalty and rain is wet. That's what we got here. It was just like,
Khalil Mack was having his presence felt. You got Joey Bosa, even though we always have questions about Joey Bosa's health. He's still.
And I want to point out how good the Chargers' offensive line was, despite not having Rashawn Slater on the field because he's out for the year. They had to kick Joe Alt over to left tackle, and Joe Alt did a great job protecting Justin Herbert. It was like Rashawn Slater never left, and I thought that was amazing. I really just the Chargers outplayed the Chiefs. They outcoached the Chiefs. They defeated the Kansas City Chiefs here handily. And I couldn't be more impressed with this Chargers.
If those of you watching us on Twitch or YouTube, get a look at this photo in the lower right hand corner of the screen here. Justin Herbert with his He's basically doing the bicep pose with the football. He swan dived that slide, and you might see that slide on the cover of Sports Illustrated one of these days. And one more point I want to kind of point at here is I want to highlight the Chargers' schedule. They're going through the entire gamut of the AFC West to start the season. They're going to Vegas next week. Next Sunday. They got the Broncos on the 21st, so you basically got 6 days from that, and then of course you go into Giants Commanders. They don't play the Kansas City Chiefs again until they go to Arrowhead on December 14th. Yeah. So plenty of time for the Chiefs to kind of figure things out. But you know what? If we keep seeing this Chargers team play the way they played on Friday night in Sao Paulo, I think we're going to see a sweep.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little early to call, but, it makes sense to me.
They have – the thing about the Chargers is they have a definitive group of matchups here that they could win. If you look in their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 first 6 games, they beat the Chiefs already. They got the Raiders next week, which could wind up being a W here on Monday Night Football. But then you also, for next week, but then it's going to be a tough matchup against the Broncos. But then you got the Giants, who they should beat. Then they got a tough matchup against the Commanders. And then you got a matchup against the Dolphins, who, theoretically they should beat. And then they've got the Colts, who theoretically they should beat. They've got a matchup against the Vikings, who that one's going to be a little tough, I think. They got a matchup against the Titans where they could beat the Titans. You got the Jags. They should beat the Jags. They got the Raiders again. They should beat the Raiders. They got, a little tough sledding at the end here. At the end of the year, you got Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, Texans, Broncos. So the last 5 games are going to be a little tough. But the Chargers really have an opportunity to kind of stamp this one and say, hey, we're going to the playoffs and we're making some noise. And man, from the way they played, the way that they played on Thursday, I could see this team winning this division still. I thought they were on their way, and I think Harbaugh's got a lot of his guys now. And this is what we've seen out of Jim Harbaugh. Like I said, out of Jim Harbaugh stuff, this is him getting his guys and putting his team together, and now they're starting to make their way into this. They're kind of like easing their way in now, right? They're kind of getting comfortable here and getting loose, and the Chargers are looking good. So I'm excited to see what they do next week against the Raiders. We'll see how it works out. But the Chiefs go ahead and drop one to the Chargers here. They lose 27-21. The Chargers, man, just rocking right now. So those are our scores for our first 2 games of the year. And we got some news, surrounding those games. We're gonna start talking about some of these teams here. First and foremost, the Chiefs. Boots mentioned it earlier in his notes. We'll talk about it. Xavier Worthy, he suffers a shoulder injury versus the Chargers. He collided with Travis Kelce during that game. He had to leave the game. That really kind of affected the Chiefs' offense, but they still had plenty of guys to catch the ball. Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown still had really, really good games. Travis Kelce had 2 receptions for 47 yards. Did Xavier Worthy affect that offense? Yeah, maybe. But by the numbers, I don't know if he actually did. What say you?
Well, if you're a fan of Xavier Worthy, you should probably be concerned because social media lip readers, quote unquote, I guess they were able to look at a piece of video where the trainer was talking to Xavier, and they were able to read 2 words: "It's bad." But we're not going to find out really what's going on until they return home when Xavier Worthy gets his MRI. But it was just a friendly fire. A miscommunication. It's incredibly unfortunate because you got these things happen. It's football. This ain't ballet. And you do have concerns with Rashee Rice's suspension. Hollywood Brown, we jokingly call him Butterfingers Brown around here. We saw him drop a couple of passes, so what else is new? But if you're a fan of this guy, and if you drafted him in your fantasy team, you might have to throw him on IR because, we could be talking about a separated shoulder. We could be talking about, it might have affected the collarbone, but I mean, he was very clearly upset. And walking back to the locker room and all that, Xavier Worthy fans were basically doing this. Oh no! And I am too, because I mean, say what you want about him being a gadget player, because I know that was we got to stamp that bingo card. But he's still a very potent part of this offense, and the Chiefs need all the help they can get.
Well, especially in their receiver room. Their receiver room is going to be thin, at least for the first 6 games. It was thin for this game, and they still, I mean, they made it work, but I mean, missing Rashee Rice, as you alluded to, he's suspended for 6 games for violating the league's personal conduct policy. I was just hooting and hollering about that on the last show because I really felt like it was taking way too long to come to this decision. I mean, we're talking a year and a half later here. And you're finally coming to the decision to suspend this guy for 6 games. He finally gets suspension. But they also had, in this game, they had their rookie wide receiver, Jalen Royals, was out for this week. So, and we'll see if Royals winds up coming back onto the field. But basically until about week 6, this Chiefs receiver room is going to be a little thin. If Royals comes back, I mean, that's going to be helpful. They did draft him, if I'm not mistaken, in the 4th round. It was a really nice pickup, but we're going to see.
Yep, you want here's a name that I found kind of interesting. Tyquan Thornton. If you take a look at Tyquan Thornton, he had 2 catches for 41 yards. So, you look on that on the surface, I'm like, oh, well, maybe that wasn't it. But he did get a healthy share of targets. So, maybe that name might start popping up. Whenever you find yourself in a rut, you always tend to find, these diamonds in the rough you didn't know you had. So that's always interesting to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, Thornton, he was popping up all throughout the offseason and in camps. They were talking about him a lot, and we wound up hearing a little bit about him, during the game. He's more of a deep threat kind of receiver, and that's what they were using him for. At one point in the game, I mean, it was real late in the game where the Chiefs were kind of playing catch up there on that final scoring drive that they had. Thornton made a beauty of a catch down the sidelines that Patrick Mahomes connected with him on. So, I mean, you might hear a lot more of Tyquan Thornton. They're working the kinks out, I think is kind of what we're getting at. I mean, it's going to take time, but they're working it out. A guy that was on the field, though, for the Chargers, I mean, while we're on the subject of this game, Najee Harris, he was expected to play in week 1 after the eye injury that he suffered in that fireworks incident over the summer. He did play a little bit in this game, so we did see Najee out on the field a little bit. Not nearly as much as Omarion Hampton. I think Omarion Hampton right now is by and far considered the surefire number 1 running back for that team.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, but one thing that is interesting about Najee Harris, I mean, at least from a football perspective, when it comes to injuries, Najee Harris doesn't get injured a whole lot. So now that he's gotten past this fireworks situation, we're going to be talking a little bit more about Najee Harris possibly seeing the field a little bit more for this team and his former team. They're making some moves as well at the running back position. While we're talking about former Steelers running backs, let's talk about the current Steelers running back. Jaylen Warren, he gets signed to a 2-year, $17.5 million extension. Look, Jaylen Warren was the backup running back. I think they're kind of wanting to see what they have in Jaylen Warren. They do have a nice running back room over there. They just picked up Caleb Johnson, who everybody's excited about out of Iowa. He's a big bruiser of a running back. He's kind of like the new Najee Harris over there. I want to see if he can steal that number 1 job. But Jaylen Warren right now is the definitive RB1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's kind of where we're at. I mean, I like this signing. Jaylen Warren, he knows the system. And he's been good when he's been called upon by the Steelers. Now he's going to get a definitive number 1 role, and we're going to see if he can take it on. Do you think this is a good extension?
Absolutely. And it's going to be interesting to see, where he falls, as far as if he really gets going. I mean, Okay, it's escaping me at the moment. I'm trying to figure out who else they have on their depth chart. I'm just going to take a quick peek skis over here.
Right now on their depth chart, it's Jalen Warren, and they have Kenneth Gainwell, who is their RB2. And then their RB3 right now is Caleb Johnson, the rookie out of Iowa who they drafted. We were big on at draft time. We were pretty hyped about Caleb Johnson. He looked pretty good at the combine. And he really looked good at the University of Iowa. He is, like I said, that kind of bruiser back, that kind of big, nasty, knock you in the face downhill runner that you want, and that the Steelers really love. He's listed, Johnson's listed as the RB3, but a lot of people seem to think that he's going to take that job from Jalen Warren this year, and that's been the hype anyway.
And I think the key to that is opportunity. If you're signing Jalen Warren for another 2 years, you obviously have some interest in maintaining that relationship. You have some interest in maintaining his roster spot. So you don't just hand out a contract and then we're going to have a rookie. I'll play you, but that's you're planning for the future. But the future can also be have other plans in mind. So it'll be interesting to see what that first game is going to look like. And I think, unless I missed my guess, they're playing the New York Football Jets on Sunday. So I think it's going to be a good coming out party.
Yeah, I think it will be. And they're going to be taking on a Jets team that is, and now that you mentioned the Jets, well, first of all, when it comes to the Steelers, they're going to be playing without a few players. First of all, they had to go get a new backup quarterback because the rookie quarterback, Will Howard, has been placed on injured reserve due to a hand injury. So they lose him. And they also lose another rookie, and this one is a little more significant, I guess.
Oh, absolutely.
They lose rookie defensive tackle Derek Harmon. He's out versus the Jets due to a knee injury that he suffered this offseason during training camp.
Harmon, no!
Yeah, Harmon was a highly sought-after defensive tackle. I didn't expect the Steelers to go and scoop him up, but it's a big deal because Cam Hayward, we talked about it a few shows ago, is talking about willingly holding out of regular season games just so he can get a new contract. And man, this is kind of rough for that Steelers defensive line. Mike Tomlin prides himself on being able to apply pressure and especially up the middle. And man, not having Derek Harmon there is going to be rough, let alone not having Cam Hayward there. That's going to be rough.
Yeah, and I thought I heard somewhere that Cam Hayward was that the holdout was over, that he was going to, but apparently, as of September 5th, yesterday, 4:02 p.m., the Associated Press states that or just to quote an article from the Associated Press, that Cam Hayward is taking a wait and see approach to playing as contract issue continues to linger. So wow. I'm like. So now it's like he's just playing the waiting game. Yeah. To quote him, I wish I could be more optimistic, but we'll try to stay in the moment. I don't have all the answers. More on me just waiting and see what can happen.
Yeah, that's the problem. You lose Cam Hayward. You're one of your best defensive linemen. He's basically the heart and soul of your defense right now. And we joke. It's like when people talk about Dennis Rodman in basketball. The Last Dance documentary. They said, well, Dennis Rodman's the fuck up guy, right? He's the guy that fucks everything up for your offense, and he fucks you all up. Well, here we are, Cam Hayward. He's the guy that fucks you all up, right? And he is the guy that you prepare for on that defense. That's the guy that offenses, they create their whole offense around how to stop Cam Hayward from getting to that backfield. Now you've not just lost one, but now you've also lost your rookie first-round defensive tackle in Harmon. So what are you going to do now? And that creates a major problem. You're not going to be able to get pressure up the middle, and you're taking on a New York Jets team that has Justin Fields over there who loves to scramble, who loves to run. And that's going to be problematic. And then if you start giving Justin Fields all kinds of time in that backfield to throw the football, to guys like Garrett Wilson, this is going to be troubling, and you're going to have to really rely on your corners and safeties to get it done. Thankfully for the Steelers, they have good corners and safeties, but man, this is going to be a tough one. And thankfully for them, they still have TJ Watt out there. So there's a lot going on here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to see how it shakes out going up against the New York Jets. I mean, goodness gracious, they're going to have some problems, but the Jets are also going to have some problems up the middle anyway. It's kind of a 1-for-1 here. Jets offensive guard Elijah Vera Tucker, he's out for the season due to torn triceps. So
no!
Yeah, you're not going to see Elijah Vera Tucker out there. Look, I was a few years back when Elijah Vera Tucker got drafted, and he got drafted in the first round, and I was pretty high on Elijah Vera Tucker. But ever since he's gotten drafted in this league, I feel like Elijah Vera Tucker has been just loaded with injuries. And it's just been one year after the other, injury after injury. He's a great guard. But for like the last 3 years, I feel like he's hurt all the time. Am I wrong for thinking that?
No, you're not wrong. And what are the two things that we preach here on the Outside Blitz day in and day out? Availability and reliability. And brother, if you're not available, if you're not reliable, then we are going to call your effectiveness into question. And unfortunately, that's the case with Elijah Vera Tucker.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at he had a season-ending torn triceps in 2022. So now he's got another torn tricep situation. Then he had
I wonder if it's the same muscle. The same arm.
Torn Achilles in 2023, right? So that ended his season. And now he's got a torn triceps in 2025. He played 16 games as a rookie, but he's missed most of the 22 and 23 seasons due to these major injuries. He was pretty healthy in the 24 season, but then in 25 he gets it's just nonstop. Torn triceps, torn Achilles. He had an ankle sprain in 24. He missed 2 games there. And then he had the torn triceps at season ending, right? So It's like, man, like he's missed 22 games over the 22 and 23 seasons alone, and now we're going to add another 16. So in the 4 years he's been in this league, he's missed 38 games.
Yeah, that is unacceptable. I mean, if a 17 game season, times 4, you got 68 games. And you've missed over half of them.
Yeah,
the 50% doesn't get you. A 50% game miss rate doesn't get you anywhere.
Because it's a 17-game season, he'll have missed 39 games in the last 4 years. 39 games. I mean, that's crazy. And you're a first-round pick, offensive guard. You missed 39 games. I mean, that's just insanity to me. And the Jets, I don't know what in the hell they're going to do at guard. I mean, their offensive line was already in shambles for the last X amount of years. Now you got your starting offensive guard out that you picked up in the first round. You got, you're lucky you got a quarterback that can scramble.
Right. I mean, he's going to be running for his life anyway.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I feel like it's a repeat of what he did in Chicago. He's going to be running for his life. I mean, it's going to be a tough go. And that's got to suck for Justin Fields not having him out there. But like I said, thankfully for him, for his sake, he doesn't have to take on that massive Steelers offensive or defensive line that is filled with these monster defensive tackles. We're not going to be talking about that. So he kind of gets away with one, right?
Yep, I think he does. We joke about it. We've called him Bustin' Fields in the past, but it does raise an interesting question. Do you honestly believe, now that we've had a couple of years to digest what he's done in this league, do you feel that Justin Fields is, may simply possibly have been dealt a bad hand?
I mean, at this point, it's hard to say that he hasn't been dealt a bad hand because of the fact that, he was over there with Chicago and Matt Eberflus and all of the bad coaching he's had over there and the bad offensive lines he's had over there. He's had good weapons. Can't say he hasn't had good weapons because he's had good weapons, DJ Moore, et cetera, et cetera. But, right now, I mean, he goes to a Jets team, little void of weapons. I mean, he does have Mason Taylor over there, who I'm really high on, and I think is going to have a great year and be a nice safety valve for him. And he has Garrett Wilson over there. But, I mean, outside of that, we're kind of going, doesn't really have much, right? So,
right.
it's going to be a tough go. He's two great running backs over there. Not one, but two. He's got Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, who we've loved on this show. We've been talking about them for a long time. I don't know what in the hell the Jets are going to do to save him and make sure that he's going to be healthy all season long, but he's going to be doing a lot of running. And he's going to have to put on the Superman cape to keep that team alive. And I don't know what in the hell they're going to do at guard, but the Jets better figure it out quickly because we're 24 hours away from the NFL season. And if Justin Fields winds up getting the hell beat out of him by the Pittsburgh Steelers, well,
yeah, we're gonna chalk another one up on the L column.
Yeah, and here we go. You know, we're going
the
crazy.
Misery continues in Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. Also, let's talk about around that division. We got a lot of stuff happening around that division. First of all, the Bills go out and sign wide receiver Gabe Davis to the practice squad. So they bring back the old 4 touchdown in the NFC title game, Gabe Davis.
So I'm like, hey, well, welcome back? Question mark.
Kinda. It's crazy. I'm like, huh. All right.
I mean, at least he knows the system, so he knows how to practice. But at the same time, I'm like, why?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where it's at, and man, it I don't understand. I don't understand what's going on with bringing back Gabe Davis. I don't really think I mean, he didn't work out at Jacksonville. He's just been floating around the league for the last year, and now we're back in Buffalo. And I mean, I guess he kind of knows the system, but I don't know that he's going to be a good fit here. I know the Bills are thin at receiver, but I don't know. You go back to the Joe Brady system. He doesn't really know how to use receivers.
Right. You know, he's going to be Josh Allen's going to be throwing the ball out to James Cook.
Yeah, I mean that's what it sounds like to James Cook. I mean, he sure as hell wasn't throwing it to Dalton Kincaid last year, who we thought was just going to be a star. But here we are. And also the Bills having some problem in the special teams department. They have to place kicker Tyler Bass on injured reserve.
Oh, no! That's bad news.
Yeah, due to a hip and groin injury, but they find a very suitable replacement. The Bills went out and signed kicker Matt Prater, the 41-year-old veteran. They go out and sign him yesterday and to a 1-year deal to replace Bass while he's on IR. Matt Prater's got a hell of a leg.
Yep.
A long-time kicker in this league. He knows what he's doing. I think that's a good replacement for Tyler Bass in the meantime and, you know, kind of fill in that role. But, I mean, let's face it, Tyler Bass is the better kicker. I think we can all agree on that.
Yep.
But Matt Prater is still a very good kicker in this league, and, you know, he played for the Arizona Cardinals recently. He's in his 19th year. I mean, this is he's been around with the Broncos. He's been around with the Lions. He's been around with the Cardinals, and now we're back. You know, now we're to the Bills. So I think he can handle it. I'm excited to see Matt Prater out there for the Bills, aren't you? Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm very familiar with his tenure in Detroit. You know, really big leg. You know, easily able to make those 50-yard field goals. Although for those games he was inside in a dome. You know, he's got proficiencies. You know, in open air stadiums as well. You know, so time will. You know, I think Bills fans can rest easy. But again, high winds and, you know, cold air, you know, always a factor when considering kicking a field goal. But, you know, Bills fans shouldn't be pressing the panic button for that. But there is another injury, another person that has to go to IR, which is a lot more concerning, in my opinion.
Yeah, Bills' first-round pick corner, Max Hairston. He starts the season on IR due to an LCL sprain in his right knee.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we've talked about Max Hairston for very highly. We spoke of him very highly after the Combine. We spoke about him very highly when we were talking about our draft prospects. We all like Max Hairston. And unfortunately, he finds his way on IR. You know, that's just an unfortunate situation. I think Max Hairston's going to be a great corner in this league, but health has been a concern over his career. A little undersized, and now we're seeing it kind of rear its ugly head. All offseason, he's been hurt. We saw an injury early, and then, you know, now we're seeing an injury now. He came down funny. I think it was an ankle injury early in the season. Now he's got an LCL sprain. this is problematic. He's going to be on IR, so he'll at least miss the first 4 weeks of the year. But this one's gonna hit the Bills a little bit harder because he was slated to be one of their starting corners, right?
Absolutely. And, we've always talked about how staunch that Bills defense really is. But at the same time, I mean, if you drafted a corner, to be your next shutdown corner, and now he's going to miss the first 4 games, you can at least hope that he's going to, sit behind and, rest on the sidelines and learn the defensive schemes, learn who the players are, the people that are going to cover. And if we take a look at the Bills' schedule, if I'm going to pop it up real quick here, they've got the Baltimore Ravens week 1. It's this Sunday, Sunday Night Football, in Buffalo. And, of course, they got the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Saints to round it out. So, again, with this AFC East, a lot of division games to start the season. The Patriots week 5. So if Max Hairston does come back week 5, he's staring down a showdown with the Patriots. So time will tell. Obviously, we say this often again, and again, time will tell to see if he'll be able to fulfill those availability and reliability requirements that we tout so much on this show.
Yeah, the fortunate thing for the Buffalo Bills is they have one of the softer schedules in this league. I think they have the second easiest schedule. So I mean, fortunately for them, their division isn't exactly a super tough division, and also fortunately for them, they have one of the best football players. I mean, just Josh Allen is a stud, a reigning MVP. So, I mean, you have a situation where you're going to have the Bills and the Jets, and the Bills and the Dolphins, the Bills and the Saints. Those, to me, are 3 surefire, no doubt about it, victories. And I know Jets, Dolphins, and Saints fans might be mad at me for saying that, but this is the Buffalo Bills. I mean, these guys are, they're killers.
Yep.
And they're going to up against the Patriots, which I surely do think that they can beat the Patriots. As good as Drake May has been for the Patriots, that's going to be a little bit tougher of a matchup, but I still think the Bills win that game. They could beat the Falcons, they could beat the Panthers, and then they've got the showdown with the Kansas City Chiefs, who are not looking like the Kansas City Chiefs, who the Bills have beaten in the regular season many times. You got the Bills and the Dolphins again, and then you got a tough matchup against the Bucs, right?
Yep.
And you got a tougher matchup against the Texans, a little bit tougher against the Steelers, a little bit tougher against the Bengals, right? And you got
I don't know. I'm not sure about the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals, you have that offensive powerhouse, but the defense doesn't have the sticks to kind of hold it up.
Right.
And they have problems of their own. We'll get into that momentarily.
Yeah,
but
we'll talk a little bit more about the Bengals in a second, but they've also got the Patriots, the Browns. Those are wins. The Jets in Buffalo, that should be a win. And then they got a tough showdown with the Eagles on December 28th. I mean, they have a pretty soft schedule this year by the numbers, and so it's just one of those things where they might be able to get away with this and be okay, but it raises questions, about the Buffalo Bills here. And I want to see what they do this season. If they can get through some of these games, get those easy victories, those easy, I'll put those in air quotes, easy victories. But we'll see if they can, and they can get away with not having Max Hairston out on the field on a defense really that sort of struggled last year, particularly against the run until they kind of shored things up. But we'll see how that works. Speaking of the Patriots, because we were just talking about them, the Patriots, they make some moves here. First of all, they released safety Jabril Peppers after 3 seasons. Peppers has had a lot of off-the-field problems, domestic violence and so on and so forth. He's been having some off-the-field issues. I think that had a lot to do with it. He hasn't really been on the field a whole lot because he's been getting himself in trouble and violating the league's policies. So Jabril Peppers, not a Patriot anymore. And another interesting move, they also released wide receiver Kendrick Bourne, who's been really good for them over the years as a wide receiver 2, sometimes wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. So they dropped Kendrick Bourne as well. The Patriots just out here, getting rid of veteran guys. I'm a little surprised that they made those 2 moves. And then they also, this one, This one to me is less surprising because it was a Belichick era pickup, and we all kind of laughed at the pickup because it was a first-round pick for a guy that should have gone in the 6th round. The Patriots did cut 2022 first-round pick offensive guard Cole Strange after 3 seasons.
Which was strange.
Yeah. I mean, it was a strange – Cole Strange was a strange pickup for a guy that he should not have gone in the first round. I couldn't believe Bill Belichick picked him up in the first round. It was just pure insanity to me that they did that. What's your take on these guys? First, we'll start with Jabril Peppers going out the door. I mean, we talk about availability and reliability, right? The guy's not reliable because he's getting himself in trouble off the field.
Yeah. And it hurts as a Michigan fan because Jabril Peppers came from the University of Michigan, but over the years, he's had attitude problems in college. He had a lot of woe is me talks about how you get how he was being paid in college or whatever. This is way before NIL, obviously. And then he had his stint with the Giants. He has he's been a bit of a journeyman. I was surprised he was still playing, to be completely honest with you. And who knows where he's going to end up. I mean, if you need a safety, if you need a body in the secondary room of your team, I guess he's available. But I mean, there are better safeties out there.
I agree. Peppers is a good safety. I think he's one of those guys, very much like a Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, who winds up. He's going to wind up. He's been a journeyman. He's played with the Giants. He's played with the Browns. He got drafted by the Browns, if you recall. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's who he got drafted by. But Peppers is a good player. I think just the off the field stuff just causes more problems than he's worth. And for the Patriots, this is very much Mike Vrabel all day long going, look, if you're not going to be able to be on the field, if you're not going to be a pro off the field, if you're going to wind up getting yourself into trouble and getting yourself suspended, I don't need you here.
Right.
And that was very much kind of the decision-making there. Mike Vrabel is very hard-nosed, and he doesn't play around. And it was
the Patriots do, they're notorious for having hard-nosed coaches like that. Bill Belichick, Matt Patricia, and now Matt Vrabel, who's been around the league himself, and I think the Patriot way, kind of, it's still alive and well. It hasn't really translated into playoff or Super Bowl success lately, but I mean, it's still there, Yeah.
I think that's, very much a front office thing. Kendrick Bourne going out the door, a little surprising.
Yes.
You know the guys they have on the offensive side of the ball. Steph Diggs is set to be their number one receiver over there. You got Demario Douglas, who is very good for them. They have Hunter Renfrow. I'm surprised and I'm not, because I really think Kendrick Bourne is a good receiver. And he could be, a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 in certain places. But, I mean, Kendrick Bourne going out the door,
take a look at these numbers. Over 111 games played over his, 8-year career. He's had 292 catches for 400 out of 430 targets for 3,714 yards. He never really had a 1,000-yard season. His most productive season was in 2021 with the Patriots at 800. But he's had 22 touchdowns. He's had 177 first downs, so he knows how to get to the sticks. A couple of fumbles here and there, including 2 of them lost. But I mean, that happens. It's football. So I really think that if he's in free agency and you need a wide receiver 3 in your room, look this guy up. I mean, who do you think he could probably land with?
I think that San Francisco should be staring him down. They're already thin in their wide receiver room with the Brandon Ayuk injury and so on.
And he started his career in San Francisco.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. He knows that system. He knows that team. He knows exactly what they're looking for. I think Kendrick Bourne is a good fit over there. And they already are kind of, cutting and splicing and kind of hodgepodging this wide receiver room together in San Francisco. Kendrick Bourne is a guy that I really think, that's his spot. That's where I think he should go. The only other places, like there are some places that are a little thin at the receiver position. Maybe Tennessee could use him. I think the Vikings could use him right now. I think the Colts could use a guy like him right now. I think the Seattle Seahawks could use a guy like him right now. There are teams out there that do need extra receiver help. I think the Rams could use him. But he's a good wide receiver 3. And I think he proved in 2021 that he can be a true wide receiver 2. I mean, you're talking 55 receptions, 800 yards, 5 touchdowns. That it proves to me that he can be a wide receiver 2, and that's exactly what he was with the New England Patriots that year, was a wide receiver 2, or wide receiver. And if you look at the rest of his numbers, he reads like a wide receiver 3. So here we are. Kendrick Bourne, free agent. I think he should get picked up by somebody. A team that really could use him, that I think could pick him up, Atlanta. I think Atlanta could use some receiver help, and I think that would be a good landing spot for him.
Yeah, you got Darnell Mooney, you got Drake London. If you got Kendrick Bourne over there as well, I think that'd be a nice 3-man team.
Yeah, you got to get. There are teams out there that need receiver help. Cleveland could use a little bit of receiver help. There are teams out there that could use him. So I think he'd be a good fit. I mean, it's unfortunate that he wasn't a fit for the Vrabel system over there in New England, but. Like I said, this is Mike Vrabel kind of cleaning house and getting his guys in there. And you saw how many of the guys that were from his former regime with the Titans. You saw how many of those guys kind of popped up over there with New England this offseason. So, we're gonna see that. And then Cole Strange. I mean, no surprise that Cole Strange is not a fit for the Vrabel system. He was just a ridiculous pick. Like I said, we all laughed when he got selected back in 2022 in the first round. We're like, why? Just a strange pickup to me. And now he goes out the door. I'll be honest. I think Cole Strange he'll get picked up somewhere. But I
think he got picked up by the Cleveland Browns, because I'm on the ESPN website and I clicked on his profile and it claims he's with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, I don't see any news bits saying he got picked up by him, but maybe that's where he is now.
Yeah, it might be a random pickup here, but it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, you want Cole Strange, take him. I mean, it's the Browns, per Aaron Wilson in the NFL, the Browns did go out and sign Cole Strange quietly, very quietly. They made some interesting signings, by the way, the Browns did, and we'll chat about them right quick. They made some interesting signings. They went out and signed Cole Strange. They signed Ulufoshi. They signed Garrett Dellinger. They signed Malachi Corley, the former Jets receiver who is a second-round pick that got released. They signed Logan Brown, and they signed Bailey Zappi, all to the practice squad. So all those guys are going to the practice squad here. And, the Browns picking up some veteran players, but I thought it was kind of interesting that happened. And also, something that happened just after we got off the air last week was the Browns went and traded quarterback Kenny Pickett to the Raiders for a 2026 fifth-round selection.
For a pack of gum, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know what? You got a fifth out of a guy that you didn't really need. We talked about how the quarterback room was overcrowded as an island of misfit toys.
Yep.
Here we are. The Browns finally send him out the door. They get a fifth-round pick for a guy that they signed for nothing. And, they kind of save a little bit of cap space, and they get themselves a draft pick out of it. And actually, a decently high draft pick for a guy who's going to be a backup quarterback, right?
Yeah, I mean, a Super Bowl winning backup quarterback. Got to throw that in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I mean, it does show that Cleveland does have some sort of brains in the front office, even though we keep talking about it time and time again how maligned that franchise is and that organization is. But for a move like this, I mean, it's pretty much a layup, So yeah, something was bound to happen. When you got like 4 or 5 guys in your quarterback room, and some of them can't even play. I'm looking at you, Deshaun Watson. But yeah, they got to do whatever they can to get out of that disgusting contract. That's going to weigh him down for. Is this the last year of his deal?
I believe. Well, I think Kenny Pickett signed I think he had signed a 2-year deal, if I'm not mistaken, with the Eagles. But I think he's got. It's either a year or 2 left. But I mean, either way, it's nothing, right? This is a guy that's getting paid damn near league minimum. It's not hurting anybody. And in the Pete Carroll system, Kenny Pickett fits, right?
I would think so. You need a backup for Geno Smith over there, and he's a if anybody can tap the potential for a quarterback like Kenny Pickett, as old as he is and as retread of a coach as he is, Pete Carroll could be that guy.
Yeah, and when we're talking about Kenny Pickett as a former Super Bowl winning quarterback, we got to talk about the team that he won it with, and they've got all kinds of stuff going on. First of all, they had Landon Dickerson leave that game against the Dallas Cowboys. He has a back injury. He was dealing with the back injury before the season, and now he comes in. It was very clear that he was kind of battling through that back injury during that football game. He winds up leaving early. He gets listed as questionable, goes to the locker room in the fourth quarter.
And he was playing hurt all throughout that game too. I mean, there was a series where he kind of landed hard, and you could see him get up and grimace and hold his left hip. So but he played through it. He stuck through it. Then he had to leave, but.
Yeah, it was tough to watch, and it's a huge part of that offensive line. In turn, the Eagles go out and sign offensive lineman Kenyon Green to a 1-year deal. He's a former Houston Texan. He was drafted by the Texans. He's still young and spry, and I'm surprised that they let Kenyon Green go. He's a good player, and the Eagles go out and just snatch him up. Could he be the starting guy? I know they started somebody else, but I think Kenyon Green could be a nice starter for the Philadelphia Eagles if Landon Dickerson can't play, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I keep saying, I've said this many, many times, and this is not the first time today I'll say it. The rich get richer with Philadelphia. Philadelphia, notoriously finds a way just when you think that their team isn't perfect enough. They got a rushing quarterback in Jalen Hurts. They have a wrecking ball in Saquon Barkley. They've got one of the most formidable defensive lines in in football. Even if Jalen Carter, is going to be out for, who knows how long he's going to, what the repercussions of him spitting on Dak Prescott's going to be beyond a one, missing out the first game of the season. But still, and on top of that, the Eagles find a way to get that much better. A very savvy organization, and they got somebody else too.
Yes, they did. Well, first of all, when it comes to Kenyon Green, let's not forget this guy was a first-round pick by the Houston Texans, back in 2022, and it was a great selection. And they acquired him in a trade that was very cheap for them to go and get Kenyon Green. I thought this was a great pickup, and he's only 24 years old. But the other guy, the bigger news for the Eagles that they go out and get, they go out and pick up linebacker and edge rusher Zadarius Smith to a 1-year deal, as if they didn't need more defensive help. Zadarius Smith is on his way.
Thanks a lot, Brad.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Lions fans were holding their breath, hoping that Zadarius Smith was going to be rolling into town at some point and getting a big deal, and not so much. The Eagles go out and poach him right out from under the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
And,
here's the deal about this. I'm in two different camps of thought, when it comes to Zadarius Smith. On the one hand, I'm incredibly incensed. And the biggest reason for my consternation here is that we have been pounding the table as Lions fans to get to get the organization to understand that Aiden Hutchinson needs help. He can't be, he is a tremendous, tremendous player, but he can't do it all himself. There are other guys out there that you can lean on. Zadarius Smith was one of many options that were available, and we all know that he wasn't that proficient with Detroit last year, but he did have some sort of presence. He's a guy. He's a very capable. The Lions are sitting here thinking, Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport are going to be a great combination. Well, yeah, that's great. But what's the one thing we keep talking about with Marcus Davenport? He's always hurt, and they were talking about it on the Valenti show, where it's like, if Marcus Davenport gets hurt again, then it's like, you're really sitting here, saying, "Oh, we're good. Those are the two words that I picture Brad Holmes just sitting going, "We're good." Yeah, that's exactly what you are. You're good. You're not great. You see, and that's the problem I have with the Detroit organization. They seem content with the guys that they have. We're just going to make the best of what we have. Why can't you do what the Eagles are doing and make yourself just a little bit better? Just a little bit better. Just a little bit better. Piece by piece by piece. Philadelphia is doing what we wish Detroit would do. So that's my rant on my team in regards to Zadarius Smith.
Now, when it comes to Zadarius Smith, one thing I'll say about him, so his best years came when he was playing for the Packers and the Vikings. I mean, he had 18.5 sacks in 2019, 12.5 sacks in 2020, 10 sacks in 2022. He did miss basically all of 2021, but 55, 52, 44 tackles. In Cleveland, he was a little rough. I don't think Cleveland knew what the hell to do with him. But in Detroit last year, he only played half a season and had 4 sacks. So, I mean, I think that with a full season with Detroit, you could be having a different conversation about Zadarius Smith. But now that he's with the Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, that team that's already scary on the defensive side of the ball, it just got scarier. And you have guys like Nolan Smith. You have guys like Jalix Hunt. You have guys like Zach Bond over there. You have Jalen Carter over there. That front seven of the Philadelphia Eagles is great. And they also have a great secondary, a young, great secondary with guys like Quinshawn Judkins and Cooper DeJean. You have guys there, and Blankenship over there is still a very good safety. This is a good Eagles team with a good defense. And I'm surprised that the Lions didn't make the move. They seemed, like you said, just to be content and just letting them go. I don't understand it. And while we're on the topic of the Lions, let's talk about it because they made some moves over the last 2 weeks too. First of all, they released former third-round pick and quarterback Hendon Hooker. He's out the door. They have officially named Kyle Allen the backup quarterback for Jared Goff. Can Hendon Hooker go down as one of the biggest busts in history of Detroit at this point?
I think Joey Harrington still has a pretty bright candle to burn there. But in recent history, I can agree that Hendon Hooker was a pretty big bust. Now, granted, does that simply mean that he wasn't a fit for the team? Because if another team picks him up and all of a sudden he starts to turn it on, then we're going to sit here going, well, was it Hendon Hooker or was it Detroit? So, that discussion is definitely going to be there. But yeah, I mean, we saw him in preseason. He did not look really good. He couldn't get the ball out in time. He was harassed easily. He was getting sacked. He turned the ball over, and you don't want to turn the ball over when you're Detroit. You don't want to turn the ball over, period. But one thing that Dan Campbell's been harping on with his team is turnovers. We got to create turnovers for ourselves, and we can't turn the ball over to other teams. So, I just looking at his performance, looking between him and Kyle Allen, but the biggest thing here, Lions fans, please understand this. Please. If Jared Goff goes down, your season is toast. And you're hearing it from a Lions fan.
Yeah, it hinges on Jared Goff. And there's, Boots always says, you're only as good as your backup quarterback, right?
And Kyle Allen, he's a decent backup. He proved himself to be a decent backup in preseason. If he gets you through 1 or 2 or 3 games, that's one thing. That's what a backup quarterback is for. But if you're going to try to pin your hopes and dreams on Kyle Allen, forget about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And one thing that backup quarterback will be without is Tim Patrick. The Lions go out and trade wide receiver Tim Patrick to the Jaguars for a 2026 sixth-round pick.
And in my opinion, the Lions got fleeced.
Yeah, Tim Patrick's a good wide receiver 3. I think he proved in Denver that he could be a wide receiver 2 in this league. But as a wide receiver 3, he was a high-end wide receiver 3 for the Lions.
Yeah, he very, very effective, very proficient. I was a big Tim Patrick guy last year, and the Lions could have probably got a 4th-round pick for him.
Yeah, they're very satisfied, however, I think, with Isaac Tesla, who has shown that he's a very good wide receiver. He could probably be a wide receiver 2 on that team. I think he proved in the preseason that he's worth every penny and every draft pick so far. Although, I feel like they still gave up a lot to get him, but he showed during the preseason that he could probably be a good wide receiver too. So losing Tim Patrick doesn't do a lot. But, the Lions, they send him out the door. They walk out with a 6th-round pick.
I think that's the biggest reason for this is that, you talked about it in a previous episode. Tim Patrick obviously got replaced by Isaac Tesla. Obviously, time will tell. Can Tesla stay healthy? Can he maintain, he has a major opportunity to really prove himself with this team. He surprised us in preseason. We'll see what happens in the regular season.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing. We're going to see if Isaac Tesla is going to be, the guy that everybody keeps talking about. He's going to be that star that everybody keeps saying he is. We'll find out. A couple of guys that we're going to be seeing about being stars here. We're going to be seeing about Micah Parsons around that division.
Geez.
Yeah, the Packers, they go and pick up Micah Parsons from the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a 2026 first-round pick, a 2027 first-round pick, and defensive tackle Kenny Clark. The Packers then went out and extended Parsons to a 4-year, $188 million extension, just a mega extension, $47 million per year. But then it gets a little crazy. The Packers pick up Parsons, but now Parsons is listed as questionable versus the Lions for week 1 due to a back injury that apparently he's had since before this trade even took place. He may need an epidural shot just to be able to play at all. This is insanity. The Dallas Cowboys pull off a trade so monumental here by getting away with this again. This is like the Dallas Cowboys pulling a Herschel Walker to Minnesota thing again. This is like 1988 all over again, where they send Herschel Walker to Minnesota, and then all those draft picks turned into Emmitt Smith and Troy Aikman and all those guys. And man, I got to tell you, I'm just flabbergasted by this whole thing. But how glorious is it for Detroit and the rest of the teams around the NFC North that Micah Parsons goes to Green Bay, Green Bay signs him to the mega extension and uses up $47 million in cap space, resets the whole edge rusher market, because he's an edge rusher / linebacker. He's like a hybrid. They reset the whole market. And then after they get done resetting the whole damn market, the guy might not even see the field because he's dealing with this back injury, this facet joint sprain. This is insane to me, is it not?
Yeah, it is. And you know what? I think we weren't giving Jerry Jones enough credit. We talked about him. Oh, he's a senile old man. He doesn't know what he. Well, hang on a second. Maybe that's why he wasn't willing to pay the man. Why do you think Micah Parsons was lying on that table on the sideline during preseason? Probably because his back was jacked up, and Jerry Jones knew his back was jacked up, and then he started fishing him around in the trade market. We're willing to let him go. We just don't want to pay him. And then, nope, he's dealing with an injury, and an injury that would require an epidural shot. I think Jerry Jones, with this news and this revelation, has revealed to the world that he's been playing chess while everybody's playing checkers.
It was a smart move. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, they have a tendency to kind of get away with these types of things, these types of trades, because they realize that, for example, Herschel Walker, he wasn't the running back they thought he was going to be, and they kind of sent him out the door and to Minnesota, and they got all those draft picks, and they won all those Super Bowls for all those years, and they went on that run, that epic, Dallas Cowboy run. I think it says a lot about what Jerry Jones is doing. Do I think he's playing chess while they're playing checkers? I don't know about all that, but I do think that Jerry Jones got away with one here. And he walked out with 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark is still a high-end defensive tackle. And he played extremely well, by the way, in that game against the Philadelphia Eagles. So, the Cowboys actually played a good game against a very tough Eagles team, and their defense looked good in that game. So it's interesting. And then the Cowboys make another move. They go out and sign corner Deron Bland to a 4-year, $92 million extension. That's $23 million per year. If you recall, Deron Bland set the record for pick sixes in a season. And he's now going to be playing their starting corner position. And if you saw what the Cowboys did to the Philadelphia Eagles, really, if you look at it, they shut down A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, who are 2 of the best receivers in football.
Yep.
Are the Cowboys on their way on the upswing? And when we all thought that they were on the downswing with this whole Dak Prescott fiasco with the big contract going to Dak, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Now it's like we have to wait and see. Yeah. We have to wait for the other shoe to drop, because that's usually what happens with these things. We get these things. Oh, maybe this is the year for them boys. Maybe that is time for Big D. And then the playoffs roll around, and then fate rears its ugly head once again, and throws the Cowboys to the wolves. While we're at it, why don't we take a look at their schedule for the year? Obviously they had the loss in Dallas, which stings. You never want to lose to a division opponent, but they got a bounce back game against the Giants next week, but then they got Bears, Packers, and Jets. So that's going to be a tough 3-game sled, especially against that Jets defense. They got the Commanders and the Broncos. They got the Eagles again around Thanksgiving, and then they got the Kansas City Chiefs, and then Lions and Vikings. So, yeah, it's not exactly the easiest schedule in the world. They got a couple of gimme games here, but really this team's going to be tested. I have a hard time envisioning that they're going to have a record any better than 11-6. Right. And that's being generous.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's very generous, and the Cowboys, they still got questions. I think they played a good game against the Eagles. I think 11-6 is about where they're headed, but I still think they could potentially be a playoff team with what I saw on Thursday Night Football. So the Cowboys, they're making some moves, and it's kind of interesting to see how they're putting this team together, kind of quietly, trying to make one last push, I think, with Dak Prescott under contract, because his contract is unbelievably bloated.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
and I think they're trying to make one last push with this thing to see if they can get to the promised land. So, hey, good on them. Elsewhere around that division, this one's going to hurt for you. The Giants go out and waive quarterback Tommy Cutlets DeVito.
Oh man, I like Tommy Cutlets, but I do have to do this. I mean, it's kind of sad though, because the Giants, that quarterback room is also a quarterback room of misfit toys.
Yeah.
And they were having fun with each other, but it's like at the same time, it's like, somebody had to go in that room, and hey, forget about it. He's out the door.
Yeah, we need to go make a sandwich. But, at the end of the day, Tommy DeVito out the door. He's going to go back to living with his parents, I'm sure. So that's a thing. Another quarterback that gets released, the Bucs go out and release quarterback Kyle Trask. He was thought to be the heir apparent to Tom Brady for a while there, just didn't pan out. It became the Baker Mayfield show, and that, as we say, is that. So it's Kyle Trask out the door there. He did start a couple of games for the Bucs during the Brady years, but ultimately the Bucs said thanks, but no thanks. You're out of here.
Yep. Right. And then these things happen. Teams have to make decisions to get to the 53-man roster, and it's just like you said, it's the Baker Mayfield show. It's his team. It's his team to wield.
Yeah, and we also have to understand that the Bucs do have a new offensive coordinator over there as well. So, I mean, he probably didn't. We talk about team and scheme, but yeah, that's kind of what we're dealing with.
He's got some pretty good protection up front, though, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. The Bucs go out and sign offensive tackle Luke Godke to a 4-year, $90 million extension, $22.5 million per year, $50 million guaranteed. Look, he's a good player. He's a good offensive tackle. I really, really like this extension. I think it makes total sense. It's a smart play.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. If they need everything that the Bucs need, really everything that they can get here, and to have a player of that caliber, to be re-signed, it just makes sense. You have that. You have the line up front to protect against the rushers, against the linebackers and defensive tackles.
They need to shore up the one side of the line. Tristan Wirfs is dealing with an injury, if you recall. So, I mean, they do need to go out and shore up that one side of that line, and they did just that. They shored it up. I like this signing a lot. This is exactly what they needed to do, especially with a guy like Bucky Irving, who loves to run like kind of up the middle a little bit. He likes to run between the tackles. So, I mean, this is a good one. This is good. I like this signing. I'm not mad at that at all. One that didn't make sense to me, though, and this one's still confusing. The Seahawks go out and sign right tackle Abraham Lucas to a 3-year, $46 million extension. He gets $15.3 million per year. But he only had a 61.9 PFF grade last season. He was 68th in the NFL at his position. What in the hell are we doing here?
I'm sure there are better offensive linemen out there, in free agency.
Yeah.
The name of the head coach, escapes me at the moment.
McDonald.
But yeah, okay, but still, it's I'm trying to put the pieces together here in my head, and it's like I'm having a hard time doing that.
McDonald, former Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator, and he goes over there, and look, I understand they're having like an offensive coordinator transition because they're moving from one offensive coordinator to another. They had Grubb over there. They got rid of Grubb. He was the former offensive coordinator for the former head coach, if I'm not mistaken, from the University of Washington. They move on. They find another offensive coordinator, and that's fine. But I just don't understand why Abraham Lucas is getting signed to this big of an extension. I don't understand why you would even bother. And if you were that hard up for offensive tackles, why aren't you just kicking Gray Zabel, who you just drafted, over to offensive tackle? He's one of the best offensive linemen that you have on that team.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was a phenomenal performer at the combine.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good at the combine. He looked good in the Super Bowl. I know you want him to play at guard. I know you need a guard. Why don't you just go sign a guard? Or how about do what the Eagles did? Go pick up Kenyon Green. Say, hey, Kenyon Green, go be my offensive guard. Hey, Gray Zabel, you're going to play tackle. Because you know Gray Zabel is going to be able to handle whatever they want to do. And I understand that there's concerns about the arm length and whatever. I understand there's concerns about all of the competition he played in college. But to me, go pick up the guard, because that would be the smarter move, and it would probably be cheaper. You could kick Gray Zabel out to tackle, who can play every spot along that offensive line as it is, and call it a day. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. I feel like the Seahawks are doing themselves a disservice in this situation.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with that, because according to ESPN's Brady Henderson, by giving Lucas a new deal, the Seahawks are making a bet on the health of his surgically repaired knee and a rare investment in one of the key pieces of their offensive line, which, again, so there's an injury concern too.
And you can't even sit here and call him a key piece of the offensive line, because the last 3 years, guess what? He sucked. He was terrible. So I don't understand how they can sit here and say he's a key piece of their offensive line. In what way? But by stinking up the joint? I don't get it. But maybe that's just me. Abraham Lucas gets signed to a deal. A signing that I did like, though, there were two of them. First of all, let's talk about the Broncos. They go out and sign edge rusher Nick Benito to a 4-year, $120 million extension, $30 million per year. It's $70 million guaranteed. Benito has turned in one of the best edge rushers in football. And I like this signing a lot. $30 million per year makes a lot of sense for Nick Benito. And given the edge rusher market, this is actually a really good price for a high-end edge rusher, right?
Absolutely. If we take a look at his statistics, I'm going to go ahead and pull them up here. But really, like, the Denver Broncos notoriously have always had a stellar defense. They've always been one of the top defenses in the league. And tell me more. Tell me more about it. What do you see in all of this?
Well, I see Nick Benito right now. So if you look at the edge rusher market, first of all, you got T.J. Watt getting paid 41, or is Myles Garrett getting paid 40, T.J. Watt getting 41. Now you got Micah Parsons getting paid 47, right?
Yes, so, which is still, it's insane.
Those are insane numbers to me, and I understand that they're some of the best offensive or edge rushers rather in football. I mean, that's no question. But Nick Benito right now, if you look at what he's done over the first of all, he's only 25 years old.
Yep,
right?
Bonus.
We can start there. Last year, 77.5 overall grade with a 74.4 pass rushing grade. He was ranked 24th in overall and 27th out of 210 edge rushers in all of football, right? He's
crazy.
He's made the NFL top 100. I mean, this is a guy who is one of the best players in football. Former Oklahoma Sooner, drafted in 2022. Is he a great run stopper? I mean, he had a 60 PFF grade in that respect. But last year, he was a star. He was a stud. His pass rush grades were awesome, and he can actually cover, too, by the way. He had a 92.6 coverage grade. So, I mean, I'm over here looking at he had 57 pressures, 15 sacks last season. He's fitting the Sean Payton defense and what they're doing over there on the defensive side of the football. It makes complete and absolute sense for them to pay this man and just get him going as their premier edge rushers. I mean,
and don't forget, he's also been able to force 2 fumbles last year, 4 over the course of his career, and he even has a pick six, a 71-yard pick six to his credit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, that's
and he's 6'3", 240. He's a big boy.
Yeah, he's not small. So I mean, Benito, I like this. He was a 2nd-round draft pick. I mean, I like this signing. It makes absolute sense. He fits what Sean Payton's doing. The Broncos looked great last year, especially on the defensive side of football, and he was one of the straws that stirred the drink. So I really like that signing. Another signing that I really, really enjoyed was the Ravens going out and signing safety Kyle Hamilton to a 4-year, $100 million deal, $25 million per year. It makes him the highest paid safety in the league. Look, this is the Baltimore Ravens paying the right guys. This is very Ed Reed when they were paying all that money, and they do the right thing. They pay a guy that we knew was going to be a star when he came into this league out of Notre Dame. He was a top 3 prospect coming out of his draft class. They got him, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was 13th overall.
Yeah, I think it was 16th overall, and the reason I know that is because your Vikings decided to trade down. He was in 16th or 17th, but no, but we could have got you guys could have got him. He was he was pick 14, in 2022.
In the 22 draft, and we could have gotten him, and we didn't, and instead we wound up trading back and winding up with Lewis Seen, who was one of the biggest busts I've ever seen in my life, and who I hate. But Kyle Hamilton, he comes in and becomes a star for the Baltimore Ravens. And he's one of the bigger safeties out there. He's smart. I mean, he's got the size. He's got the speed. He's just a football player all around, and that's kind of where we're at. He gets signed to the big deal. He's deserved every single penny. His rookie season, he was the best safety in football.
Yep.
So if you recall, he was one of the top guys on our rookies list. I mean, we loved Kyle Hamilton.
Absolutely.
So here we are. Kyle Hamilton finished out his rookie season as the top safety in football. He's one of the best safeties in football right now. I would argue that he's probably top 3 or 4 in the league. He deserved every penny of this extension, and the Ravens get their guy. I love it. It makes total sense, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And again, I think we're noticing a trend that, the good football teams know who the good players are and knows, what to do, what to sign them, to the proper amount to make sure that the market, is set properly. But the salary cap raises every year. We've been seeing that. So, but at the same time, the Baltimore Ravens have notoriously been a savvy organization. They've been to the AFC Championship multiple times. They've won a Super Bowl in the last 10 years. But they've also, we've seen them consistently in the playoffs, and one of the things that we keep talking about, Lamar Jackson and all that, but their defense is one of the stoutest in the league, consistently year after year after year. And Kyle Hamilton is a gigantic reason why.
Yeah, I agree. And also, speaking of good defensive players, the Bengals do the right thing. They go out and rework the contract of defensive end Trey Hendrickson. He's going to be on a 1-year deal for this season only, and he's going to earn $30 million for 2025. So they give him the raise that he wanted. I don't even know that it was the raise that he necessarily wanted, but he was the one that he would have accepted. And he's only going to be playing on a 1-year contract over there with the Bengals. After this year, if I'm not mistaken, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. So you can see Trey out there on the market after this season.
And who's to say that teams won't trade for him before the trade deadline? That possibility still exists. But at least the Bengals are doing, what they need to do to shore up their defense, because it's pretty thin back there as it is. What do we keep joking about? Oh, Cincinnati Bengals are going to put up 45, but they'll lose by 3. But with this signing, to be able to at least corral this guy and to keep him on staff, it's the only thing the Bengals could really do to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, it was important to get him on the field. I mean, they did just go out and pick up Shamar Stewart from the University of Michigan in the draft, and they struggled to get him on the field. They were disputing over his rookie contract as well. So they get him on the field. They get Trey Hendrickson on the field. So now the Bengals have 2 key cogs on the defensive line. They get their defensive ends situated. So now they've got 2 edge rushers there that'll be able to jump in, bring a little more pressure, and maybe take some of the strain off of their defensive backs, because, man, their defensive backs struggled last year. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be discussing that. One team that is over here also making moves is the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers go out and trade wide receiver Adam Thielen, a 2026 conditional 7th-round pick, and a 2027 5th-round pick to the Vikings. And the Vikings give up a 2026 5th-rounder and a 2027 4th-rounder. Now, listen, I am not mad at this move for the Vikings at all.
No, sir.
They go out and get Adam Thielen, who knows their system. He's playing at a high level still. Adam Thielen, we had talked about on the last show that the rumors were swirling that this could be a thing. It became a thing a few days later. Adam Thielen winds up as a Minnesota Viking, knows the system, and last year he was on pace for 1,037 yards and 7+ touchdowns. Now, here we go. Adam Thielen back to the Vikings. It makes total sense. You have Jalen Naylor, who's kind of hurt right now, so he's hurt.
You got Jordan Addison, who's suspended.
Yep. You got Ty Felton, the rookie. You got Justin Jefferson, who you're worried about the hamstring issue. And then you need, TJ Hawkinson out there. So you need a guy out there that knows how to work with J.J. McCarthy, that knows the system, that's been working out with J.J. McCarthy in the offseason. Adam Thielen's that guy. He goes out and gets traded to Minnesota. It's a sensible move, and the Vikings wind up getting Adam Thielen back on the field. I love it, and that means that so long as everybody stays healthy, after week 3, that Minnesota Vikings offense, you are going to have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Adam Thielen, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason. I'm sorry, that at that point, JJ McCarthy will have no excuses.
No excuses and no going back. And if you take a look at those first 3 games, Bears on Monday Night Football, Falcons at home, and the Bengals at home. And you should win 2 out of 3 of those games.
Yeah, 2 of those games are on prime time. The Bears on Monday Night Football this upcoming week, and then you've got the second game, which is going to be the Falcons on Sunday Night Football in Minnesota. So I mean, you've got a lot going on there. I've been excited about that. But the Vikings kicking the season off with 2 primetime games. Man, we're going to see what they're all about. We're going to see if they can handle it. But they're going to be on the big stage, and we're going to see if the Vikings show up. And then the Panthers, after they go out and trade away Adam Thielen, they go out and sign wide receiver Hunter Renfrow to a 1-year deal. I've seen videos of Hunter Renfrow in practice. I've been seeing him pop up all over X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. But he has looked really good ever since he signed with the Panthers. Seems like he's got a good connection with Bryce Young. And they basically send Thielen out the door. They save the cap space, and then they save even more because they only signed Hunter Renfrow for pennies on the dollar. So Hunter Renfrow comes in on a 1-year deal. Veteran receiver. He's going to be playing kind of that Thielen role, and I can see it. It's sort of a 1-for-1, given Thielen's age, given Renfro's age, given their skill sets. Renfro's a good receiver. He looked really, really good in practice. I like this signing for the Panthers.
And it almost didn't happen because the rumor and innuendo is that when the Panthers attempted to contact Hunter Renfrow, the phone kept hanging up. Well, why did the phone keep hanging up? What's going on? His daughter was apparently watching Bluey on his phone and kept disconnecting the call. But miracle of miracles that Hunter Renfrow was finally able to get in contact with the organization, and they were finally able to work out a deal. But it's kind of funny and amusing to think that almost didn't happen because of a children's show.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I read that article and I was just blown away. But Renfrow being with the Panthers, I think, is a good fit. They needed a veteran presence over there. And he's that veteran presence. He's been something of a journeyman around the league. He's played, with the Patriots. He's played with the Raiders. He's been all over this league. Now Hunter Renfrow goes to the Panthers. He'll be a good fit. And he'll probably line up in the slot over there, I would assume, with Ted McMillan and Xavier Legette over there on the outside.
Well, Ted McMillan, again, is a very highly touted rookie that we were a big fan of, out of the combine and in the draft. So, it would be interesting to see where he ends up.
Yeah, one big rookie that we were big on around the league that, unfortunately, he's going to start on the PUP list due to a calf injury is the Cardinals' first-round pick defensive tackle, Walter Nolan. He'll be on the PUP list starting this season, so it's unfortunate. I love Walter Nolan coming out of college here. We were a big fan of him. He was in our top 5 as far as our prospects go. Walter Nolan starting on the PUP. That's got to hurt for the Cardinals starting out this season. But thankfully for them, they're taking on the New Orleans Saints in the opener, and the Saints have just named Spencer Rattler as their starter.
Yeah, I had to cue the laugh track because we've joked about it ad nauseum on this show. The New Orleans Saints quarterback room is we talk about the Island of Misfit Toys. This is just a group of hack and slash comedians. It's it's romper room. And it's bad. It's just so bad.
It just doesn't make sense. And I don't understand what in the hell they were drafting Tyler Yuck for, as we call him.
We saw him at the combine. He was throwing balls all over the place, nowhere near the receivers.
He did not have a good combine. We weren't sold on him. It's going to be a rough go. It's going to be a rough go for the old Saints. I don't know what in the hell they're thinking. I don't know what in the hell they're going to do. It doesn't make a lot of sense here. Another team that, I just don't know what in the hell they're thinking, the LA Rams. Right now, quarterback Matt Stafford says he's not worried about the back injury going into the season opener with the Texans. The Rams, they intend to trot him out there. I don't know what in the hell they're thinking. They got Jimmy Garoppolo as their backup quarterback, but then at the same time, you have Jimmy Garoppolo as your backup, but he has a horrible rapport with Davante Adams.
Well, because of the time that they spent in Las Vegas together.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like this isn't going to work out very well.
I mean, Davante Adams has been dealt the bad hand several times over the past few years, and it's a shame because when he and Aaron Rodgers were in Green Bay, they tore it up. So we've seen the guy at his best. We might possibly be starting to see him at his worst.
Yeah, and he had a really good year last year with the Jets. If you look at the numbers, he still had a really good season. So, it's like, I don't know. I mean, he looked okay last year, but he hasn't been the Davante Adams of old because he's been with bad organizations. So we're going to find out what goes on with old Davante there. That's going to be interesting. Matt Stafford's going to be trotting out onto the field, it sounds like, for the Rams, a week one matchup versus the Texans. Two guys that the Texans will be without. First of all, they're going to be without safety Jimmy Ward. He was placed on the commissioner's exempt list after his most recent 2 arrests. We talked about those on previous shows.
Big dummy.
Yeah, he's a dummy, all right. One for domestic violence and then one for drinking while he was on probation in the state of Texas. So,
boy.
Yeah, right now he's dealing with that. I believe it was domestic violence. I'll have to double check, but the alleged domestic violence. The Texans also will be without running back Joe Mixon, though. He'll start the season on the reserve non-football injury list due to this ongoing foot injury that he's had.
Oh, no!
Yeah, Nick Chubb's set to get the start, so we're going to be talking about Nick Chubb a little bit as the starter.
Getting a little bit of a Chubb for Chubb.
Yeah, I mean, Chubb didn't look really that great during the preseason, so it should be a little concerning for the Texans.
I mean, he never really was the same after that gruesome leg injury he suffered when he was at the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, and they have a decent running back room over there. We're going to see what happens with Nick Chubb, if they're going to, switch over to Dameon Pierce, maybe some Woody Marks, who I was very big on. So we're going to see who their running backs are going to be, and I use that plural word, running backs.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a running back by committee in Houston.
Yeah, I'm just like, what are we doing here? I don't.
Who's getting the rock?
Yeah, it's kind of just, it's a hodgepodge situation. It's definitely not what D'Amico Ryans is going to. I believe it's D'Amico Ryans down there.
Yes,
isn't going to want. Just a crazy thing going on there. But Ward, Jimmy Ward not being a safety down there, that's tough because he's a really good player over there. He's been placed on the PUP list. He's not taking part in training camp. He did agree to a 1-year extension through this past season. So, I mean, it's just confusing. Yeah, and he's facing a domestic violence civil suit right now. He was arrested for felony domestic violence. He's being sued by the woman he allegedly assaulted. It's troubling.
It's a mess.
Yeah, just a big mess. And just for context, the woman filed the lawsuit on Wednesday in Harris County, according to ESPN, alleging that he violently assaulted her multiple times, both sexually and physically, including in the presence of their 3-year-old child. Yeah, it's just a confusing thing. Her attorney is Tony Busby. He's represented multiple women in their sexual misconduct and assault cases against former Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson, if you recall.
Oh, boy.
So that's going to be something to watch and pay attention to. But Jimmy Ward, he's been placed on the commissioner's exempt list for the time being. Moving forward, we've also got wide receiver Amari Cooper. He retires from the NFL just 9 days after signing with the Raiders.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was confusing. It's a 1 year, $4 million contract, and then,
And then he decides to hang him up. I mean, if you drafted him in fantasy, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, just insane. A lot of people just dropping Amari Cooper all of a sudden, but it's just I don't know what caused this whole I don't know what caused this retirement all of a sudden, but it kind of goes hand in hand with the fact that the Raiders wide receiver Jacoby Myers, he wanted a trade originally. When Amari Cooper got signed, Amari Cooper retires. The Raiders go, we're not trading you. And then now Jacoby Myers says he's going to play in week 1 against the Patriots after the team denied his trade request. He comes out in a press conference and he just says, they just said no.
So I think we might be able to get some insight on this. Around the NFL writer Nick Shook has an article that states that Pelissero, NFL insiders, network insiders, Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, and Mike Garofalo reported on Thursday that he plans to retire. Pelissero reported that Cooper had struggled to ramp up toward game readiness in the last week as the Raiders prepped for their regular season opener against the Patriots on Sunday. And then I guess for that reason, probably others, it was best for him to walk away. We got to do this. And we've come to the end of the road. Cooper had to let go. No more Super Bowls, no more no more Pro Bowls, only ice cream bowls.
Only ice cream bowls.
Congratulations on a great 10 years. We wish you the best.
It's unfortunate because Amari Cooper, throughout his career, he's been a very, very good receiver, and he's broken 1,000 yards consistently. He did it with the Browns, and here we are. He's gone. So Amari Cooper out the door, and now it kind of reopens things up for Jacoby Myers to be wide receiver 1 over there. I mean, outside of Brock Bowers, who's going to wind up being their top pass catcher over there. Brock. The top pass catcher for the Raiders. A guy that won't be on the field being a top pass catcher at all will be the Dolphins tight end Darren Waller. He's likely missing week 1 versus the Colts due to a hip injury.
What a shocker.
Yeah, I mean, Darren Waller, he's been retired for X amount of time, dealing with a hip injury. They didn't know how ready he was going to be. Now they're not going to have a tight end on the field.
I mean, if things couldn't get worse for the Dolphins. They might be seeing the bottom of the barrel in that division. I'm sorry. It's all on Tua. If Tua can stay healthy, they could probably tread water. But I mean, if Tua goes down again, it's going to be, it's going to be, sushi time for the Dolphins.
Yeah, a little trouble in paradise over there, and who knows how that season's going to shake out. They're probably one of the more iffy teams that you could be looking at in this league.
Absolutely.
It could be great. It could be garbage. You just never know. But like you said, it all hinges on Tua Tagovailoa. Also, the Titans running back Tajay Spears has been placed on IR due to an ankle injury, so he'll be on injured reserve. He's going to miss at least the first 4 games.
Oh, no!
Yeah, sounds like Tony Pollard is RB1 over there, and then behind him is going to be the rookie Kalel Mullings out of Michigan here, who we liked Mullings a lot coming out of college, and for him to get picked up by Tennessee just fits that power run that they like out there, and here we go.
Yep, very unique opportunity for Mullings here. I'm interested to see how that shakes out.
Yep, and then also, now this is, you want to talk about opportunities.
Uh-oh.
The 49ers, we talked about it last show. They picked up Ryan Robinson Jr. in a trade with the Commanders. We talked about that on the last show. Now we're in a situation where suddenly the 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey, within the last 48 hours here, has popped up on the injury report as questionable to take for week 1, and it's due to the calf injury that he was out for 13 games for last year. The guy has tendonitis. He may not play in week 1. He's been limited in practice all week, and now he's listed as questionable going into the game. Jesus Christ.
What is wrong with your body?
I think McCaffrey is cooked. I think he's done. And they go out and pick up Brian Robinson Jr. If you went into fantasy football and you picked up Christian McCaffrey, you should probably double him up with Brian Robinson Jr. This is insanity, and it probably says a lot. And I think the 49ers knew a lot more about this prior to this situation
than they were letting on.
Yeah, because they go out and pick up Brian Robinson Jr. a week ago, and now the Cavs limited in practice all week. Listen, this is a problem, and I see it as a problem. I think the 49ers are in deep doo-doo here, but their backup running backs are going to have golden opportunities, whether it's Brian Robinson Jr., whether it's Isaac Guerrero, whoever, Jordan James. They better figure it out.
I mean, Guerendo's hurt too, is he not?
He's listed as questionable right now. I mean, he's dealing with some stuff too. It's going to be the Brian Robinson show over there. Anybody who didn't have Brian Robinson on their roster when they picked up Christian McCaffrey is probably in deep trouble. But man, just
absolutely, as if the 49ers needed any more, bad news leading up to the start of the season. And if we must remind everybody, they're taking on the Seattle Seahawks on the road.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a field day for Sam Darnold and that Seattle Seahawks defense, because I'm telling you right now,
brutality, absolute brutality, and you know what, I can't believe that the 49ers are sitting here and you're at the 11th hour. Right? And here we are. Christian McCaffrey's hurt. Doesn't make sense. It's just
no.
The one thing they did do, the Niners, and it's our last piece of news, they did go out and sign wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling to a 1-year deal. So MVS going to the 49ers. I mean, I feel like they've been piecing together their whole their whole wide receiver room this whole offseason. It's what's been going on. So MVS, man, he's a 49er. He's going to be their deep threat guy, I'm sure, because that's what he's really good for. But that's our news around the league, folks. And we got our picks to jump into. We were going to jump into the NFL Top 100, but Boots isn't here. We're going to drop into 2 sections of the NFL Top 100 to get ourselves caught up. But that is a thing that'll be going on here. And Alex, Boots has sent his picks in. We're going to be jumping into our picks. I hope you're psyched up for that.
Let's go.
I am very fired up for this. This is one of my favorite parts of the show.
Yeah, I love doing these. Our picks for the season. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, our first week picks for the NFL season, starting for the 2025-26 season, starting out with the Dolphins and the Colts. You know what? I don't like the Colts. I don't like their quarterback room. I think both these teams are going to be bad, but someone's got to lose. Give me the Dolphins.
Not so fast, my friend. I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts, and here's the X factor here. Rookie tight end Tyler Warren. D. Jones, I can't trust him any further than I can throw him, much less any further than he can throw a football. But I digress. You do have Michael Pittman Jr. over there. You do have Jonathan Taylor, and you do have this kid, Tyler Warren. And I think, as banged up as the Dolphins defense is, I really think the Colts have the edge. This could go either way. It's a turd sandwich game. But as you said, somebody's got to lose, and that somebody is the Dolphins. So give me the Colts.
Yeah, that's all right. You and Boots 2-1. I'm the cheese standing alone in that one. Next up, Steelers and the Jets. The Steelers got a lot of problems on the defensive side of the football. They have questions on the offensive side of the football. The Jets, they have a really good defense, but I've got questions about their offense right now. I've got questions about Justin Fields and what he's going to be able to do. The Steelers, even though they have questions on the defensive line, they still have a really good secondary. I think a lot of people are getting excited about, the idea of having Jalen Ramsey over there. They got to understand that Deshaun Elliott is a really good safety over there. They have Darius Slay. They actually have a decent secondary over there. And, this is Mike Tomlin. I think this is a runaway for the Steelers. Give me the Steelers.
Yep, I would tend to agree. I'm going to go ahead and pick the Steelers on this one. Really, I think Aaron Rodgers proves he's got just enough in the tank to get one more season out. I'm kind of hoping he retires after this season for his own sake. But at the same time, I think the Jets' defense, this is going to be a defensive struggle. I don't see anything more than 14 points. It might be a 7-3 game. But, I think the Steelers are just going to have just enough to get them over the hump.
Yeah, if Rodgers can be the Rodgers from yesteryear, we might be having a decent game here for the Steelers, but we got to see what Rodgers has. Next up, Panthers and the Jags. Look, Boots takes the Panthers, by the way. And so far, Boots has taken Eagles, Chiefs, Colts, Steelers, Panthers. Boots takes the Panthers. Look, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take the Jaguars here. I get it. At the end of last year, Bryce Young finished the season strong. He finished hot, and he seemed to have found some degree of footing. But here's my problem: Liam Cohen is an offensive mastermind, and if there was anybody that can get that Jaguars team going, I think it's Liam Cohen. And if anybody can right the ship on Trevor Lawrence's career, kind of like how Harbaugh did with Justin Herbert's career, it's Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen knows how to utilize receivers, multiple receivers. He knows how to utilize good running backs. He went out and drafted Bashal Tutin, which, by the way,
sidebar.
We're on this topic. When we were at the NFL Combine, we sat next to a guy that was a dead ringer for Liam Cohen. It was on running back day, and we all sat there, including that guy, talking about how great of a day Bashal Tutin had. And I asked the guy, "Are you Liam Cohen?" He's like, "No, I'm not Liam Cohen." And then I'm like, "Hey," but next thing you know, the Jacksonville Jaguars are selecting Bashal Tutin in the 4th round. Okay, I'm sorry. I am convinced at the NFL Combine that we were sitting next to Liam Cohen, and I should have, I should have asked him to say Duval, because that would have just sealed the deal, and I would have known exactly who he was. And I get why he wouldn't want to reveal his identity, okay? But I think we were sitting next to Liam Cohen. But I digress.
There's a very plausible probability there, and
I think so. I think we were sitting next to Liam Cohen for 3 days of the NFL Combine and had no idea because the guy denied it. But in any case, I think Liam Cohen's going to turn this team around. I like what he does on the offensive side of the ball. He's got more weapons there than the Carolina Panthers do. Give me the Jags.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think and don't forget the X factor here, Travis Hunter. Yeah. They said they put him on as wide receiver 1 and CB2, so they're going to have him play offense and defense. So if this thing works out, we're going to start looking at the possibility that Travis Hunter will open a lot of doors to the future of the National Football League. But and then you still have Brian Thomas Jr. You still have Tank Bigsby. You have Travis Etienne. Trevor Lawrence has a lot of weapons at his disposal. We've been very critical of Trevor Lawrence's play over the last several years. But one thing's for sure, they have. I believe they have the edge. Not taking away anything from Bryce Young, but I think the Jaguars take this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's Jags all day. Next up, Cardinals and the Saints. Look, the Saints have Spencer Rattler at the quarterback position, and I don't like them. The Cardinals have a good defense, even without Walter Nolan in the mix. I like the Cardinals. Go ahead and give me the Cardinals here, and I think it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyler Murray is going to step out there. Marvin is going to have a career day. Questions. I mean, there are questions about the Saints' defense. They might still be able to put up some of a fight, but there is no offense in that tank. So yeah, it's going to be a disaster. Give me the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think James Conner has a big day, honestly, and I think Trey McBride has a big day. I think this Cardinals offense is going to be humming. Next up, Giants and Commanders, another one that's going to be blowout central. This one, I don't need to say much of anything else. Give me the Commanders.
I'm going to go ahead and take the Commanders too, but you have to understand this is a division game. And I've always subscribed to the idea that a division game just hits different. No matter how crappy a team is doing, if you're playing a division rival, you just play different. That said, I'm picking the Commanders because Jaden Daniels and company, and especially with Bill Krosky, Austin Eckler's the RB1, but they got this new kid, Bill Krosky. We might be able to see what he's all about. So, get ready for that.
Yeah, Bill Krosky, he can slam a revolving door. Next up, we got the Buccaneers and the Falcons. Talk about divisional matchups. Here we go. Both these teams were at the top of their division last year. The Falcons swept the Bucs last year, but the Bucs still won the division because the Falcons had a meltdown in Week 18. I like the Bucs. They won the division. I think that there's some questions there, but I don't think the Falcons did enough to improve their team in the offseason. And I really do think this is kind of like a telling year here. Go ahead and give me the Bucs.
I'm going to pull the not so fast, my friend, here. And here's why. Michael Penix Jr. is now the starting quarterback in Atlanta. Before it was Kirk Cousins, or as we like to call him, the Joel Osteen of the NFL. But now, Penix has, it's his second year in the league. Atlanta's, made some good moves to try to, get some good players here. They have, they have the decent wide receiver core. I thought they signed Kendrick Bourne. We were just talking about Kendrick Bourne possibly going to the Falcons, but so that's why I got tripped up there. But I think they're calling for Baker Mayfield to have a bit of a regression year, and he is getting older.
I mean, it's tough not to have a regression year when you've had 4,000 plus yards and 40 touchdowns.
Yeah, so is he going to repeat his performance from last year? It's highly doubtful, even though he does have Mike Evans. But, I'm going to go pick the Falcons. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here. And really, we're really here to see if Michael Penix can really, build up on his performance from last year.
Yeah, I think you're going to see heavy targets of Drake London in that one. Next up, Bengals and the Browns. Boots took, by the way, I keep forgetting to put his picks out there because I'm not thinking about him. Boots takes the Commanders. He takes the Falcons in that last game as well. He also took the Cardinals. Boots in this one, Bengals and Browns, he takes the Browns here. I don't know that I agree with that at all. I think even though we're going to be in Cleveland, it's right next door. I mean, come on, give me the Bengals here.
I would look at this as another turd sandwich game. And again, it's Bengals and Browns, and it's an AFC North division battle. You never know what you're going to get. And we keep joking, hey, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, they're going to put up 45 points, but the Browns might beat them by 3. But, anything could happen. And I'd be very curious to see if halfway through the game they decide to just trot Shedeur Sanders out there.
Yeah.
Yes, because that's a possibility too. But that said, I'm gonna gamble here. I'm gonna put it on the home team. Give me the Browns.
Wow.
Yeah, I know I'm getting kind of bold here, but something just tells me that that Cincinnati defense, even though they have their edge rushers nailed down, Trey Hendrickson and the other guy whose name escapes me at the moment,
Stewart.
Yeah, Shamar Stewart. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they have those two positions nailed down, but their secondary is still very suspect.
Yeah, I got questions about it. I think it's going to be high scoring. It's going to be very entertaining. Next up, we're going to talk about the Raiders and the Patriots. Look, I think the Patriots looked really good last year, and I think Mike Vrabel has them on the right track. Give me the Patriots.
I tend to agree. Go ahead and give me the Patriots. I'd be interested to see how Geno Smith performs in his first year with the Raiders, and he reunites with old guy. Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart about his name. Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
He reunites with Pete Carroll, and the Raiders don't really have they're kind of like old Mother Hubbard and everything in the cupboard, but they do have Ashton Genty. So, it's going to be interesting to see how he performs in his first NFL game.
Yeah, I think the Patriots, though, I think that defense is just too good. Next up, the Niners and the Seahawks. This one's weird because, the Niners might not have McCaffrey. It's going to be on Brock Purdy to get this thing done. They don't have the star receivers out there. George Kittle will be out there. But, you got questions. You got a lot of injury concerns. I feel like their wide receiver room is just a sick ward right now. Ricky Pearsall, he's coming back from injury. You got Brandon Ayuk, who's probably going to be out till, about week 6. This is concerning for the 49ers. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and take the Niners anyway, but I don't know. Boots also takes the Niners in this game, and he took the Patriots in the last one. I'm with Boots here. Give me the Niners.
I'm going to go ahead and pick the Seattle Seahawks, although it'd be interesting to see if this whole thing with Christian McCaffrey's doubtful, maybe it's just a smokescreen. But at the same time, maybe Sam Darnold proves he wasn't a one-trick pony with KOC, but it's really going to depend on whether he can make his target. He's got Cooper Kupp to throw to now, and he has JSN. So time will tell. Give me the Seahawks, but this should be a very interesting divisional matchup.
Definitely. Next up, the Broncos and the Titans. Boots takes the Broncos here. I am going to roll with the Broncos as well. I think the Broncos are just going to carry that momentum from last year. There's a lot of hype, a lot of excitement about Bo Nix, a lot of hype and excitement about Courtland Sutton, a lot of hype and excitement about RJ Harvey, and everything that they're doing on that team. I'm going to go and say, give me the Broncos.
I'm going to take the Broncos as well. It'll be interesting to see what Cam Ward can do in his first NFL start. But the Titans, I don't think, are really in a position to capitalize on having a player the caliber of Cam Ward. It's not going to be a beating, but time will tell. But at this point, the Broncos are just way too hot.
Yeah, I agree with you. Next up, Lions versus Packers. Look, and it's in Lambeau. It would be easy for me to go, give me Packers all day. I'm going to take the Lions in this one. I think the Packers have way too many questions right now on that football team. I like Jordan Love, and that's the first time you've ever heard me say that. I like Jordan Love in these matchups against Detroit, especially at home. He performs pretty well in Lambeau. But, man, when you look at what the Packers have going on behind the scenes with the Micah Parsons injury and, you lose your defensive tackle, it's all kind of problematic. You got problems in your receiver room. You got, Romeo Doubs wants out and they're not letting him go and all this other stuff. It's just a lot. It just seems like a lot. I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Lions here. I do think their coordinators are going to be problematic, but, I don't know. Something tells me that the Lions are going to pick up the W here. Boots takes the Packers in this one. Alex, who you got?
Well, I'm going to go with the Lions because forward down the field, and I do wear the Honolulu blue. But it must be noted, if Micah Parsons was a surefire starter, I would have had doubts.
Yeah,
I probably would have picked the Packers. But now that the Micah Parsons situation has unfolded, I really think that the Detroit Lions have a real shot. And the questions, they have all their main guys, on offense. On defense, you do have Hutch, all the other major playmakers. Ali McNeil, for example, is still not going to be available for a couple weeks, for several more weeks. But they have what they need to get the W in this situation.
Yeah, I agree with you. Next up, we're going to talk about the Texans and the Rams. So Boots has taken the Texans in that game. This one's going to be kind of fun. I'm a little concerned about the Stafford situation. Something tells me Matt Stafford's going to gut it out, but I got questions about the Texans wide receivers. I've got questions about Matt Stafford. There's a lot going on here. Give me the Rams, but I have my concerns.
I'm going to pick the Rams, but for a different reason. Their defense. And you have Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, kind of leading the charge after Aaron Donald retired. And I really think that defense is going to be the name of the game here. You also forget, they have Will Anderson Jr. over with the Texans. One of the most formidable defensive tackles in football. So.
And you got Will Anderson rushing off one edge, but then you also have Daniil Hunter rushing off another edge.
Yep. So you got that 1-2 punch. This might be a surprisingly low scoring game, and I think the Rams defense outperforms the Texans defense.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Boots again going with the Texans there. Next up, we got the Ravens and the Bills. Boots takes the Ravens in this matchup. For me, I'm kind of looking and look, I think everything points to the Ravens right now. These two teams are the Super Bowl favorites for the AFC, right? And I think if I'm being honest with you, I think the Ravens, the Bills kind of have the Ravens number, but I do think the Ravens are going to beat them in the regular season. I think there's a little too much going on in Buffalo right now. And Ravens seem to have everything shored up. Everything's kind of quiet. Give me the Ravens, but that one can go either way. That's going to be a heavyweight battle.
Yep, it's a marquee matchup anywhere in the country, and we may be privileged of previewing the AFC Championship game, or certainly a divisional game. But I am going to go pick the Buffalo Bills, and it's a home game. And you got Josh Allen, you got you got James Cook. I mean, you don't really have much in the move of receivers. I mean, it's Keon Coleman and everybody else, and a room full of threes.
Really, it's sort of Khalil Shakir and everybody else.
Right? Yeah, Khalil Shakir and everybody else. And I've got questions about Khalil Shakir myself. Yeah. And of course you got that vaunted Ravens defense. You got to keep that in mind. But Buffalo has a good defense of their own. So, we'll see some offensive fireworks. I know Lamar is going to run the ball a lot on his own. And, of course, you got that wrecking ball Derrick Henry back there, too. So it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, that's going to be a showdown. That's probably the showdown of the week. And then finishing out the week, Monday Night Football, the Bears and the Vikings. This one's going to be a tough one. This one's going to be a wild one. I think Ben Johnson, if I'm being honest with you, I think he sort of has the Vikings number. From what we saw last year when he was over there with Detroit and how he just sort of handled the Vikings defense, just the way he just manhandled them. People are underselling the Bears right now. And Boots is underselling the Bears. Everybody is overlooking the Chicago Bears. I had them winning the division, if you recall. I said they're going to win the division. But look, I'm going to be the homer. I'm going to be a homer in week one, okay? And I'm going to take the Vikings. But I'm going to tell you, J.J. McCarthy's first game, Caleb Williams in a new system, and all those weapons in Chicago. And when I say all those weapons, I mean, look, it's like a large-scale assault. You've got DJ Moore. You've got Luther Burden III. You got Roma Dunze. You got Cole Kmet, and you got Colston Loveland over there with a revamped offensive line, and you got Caleb Williams, who has legs, and you got DeAndre Swift, who, as much as we don't like him, DeAndre Swift has this tendency early on in seasons to get really hot really fast. I'm concerned about this Vikings secondary. We don't have Dick for corners, and now we're going to go on, and we're going to take on these huge wide receiver sets that Chicago's about to put out there, and the Vikings have done nothing to fix their corner room, and I have been screaming about it and pounding the table, and then the only thing that they did is go get Isaiah Rodgers and then trade away Mekhi Blackman and not replace him. I don't understand the logic of what the Vikings are doing in that secondary. I don't like the idea that we're starting Harrison Smith and a relative nobody at safety. I don't like this secondary at all. I know they're putting all their eggs in that front seven basket, but for Christ's sakes, sign Stephon Gilmore. I'm taking the Vikings. This one's going to be high scoring. It's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to wind up coming down to the wire. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if the Chicago Bears just laid waste to the Vikings here with how that offense is probably going to shape up.
And again, the real question of the day is J.J. McCarthy ready for the big show?
Yeah, is he the quarterback messiah that everybody has proclaimed him to be out? And at least here in Michigan, everybody talks about how J.J. McCarthy is just the quarterback king and how he's just going to be a stud. And everybody's making all these crazy comparisons to Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Listen, the kid hasn't played a regular season game. I'll wait and see.
Yeah, and that's the question of the day. That's the phrase of the day. Wait and see. I'll believe it when I see it. And we've seen Caleb Williams. I mean, yes, he was running for his life the first couple of years, but now, like you said, revamped offensive line, so he should have a little bit of protection, and he has legs. Now, how much work has he done to try to pick up Ben Johnson's new system? Because there are concerns there. I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears, but I'm telling you, this game could go either way, and it really depends on those first couple of snaps with J.J. McCarthy. You know, yeah, he's going to hand the ball off, but eventually he's going to have to chuck the rock. Can he get there?
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you 110%. And Boots takes the Vikings, and those are our picks for Week 1 of the 2025-26 season.
We are back, Jack.
Yeah, we're back, man. We're back to football here. Man, I'm fired up right now. As it currently stands in the Pick'em rankings, I'm 2-0. Boots is 1-1. Alex is 2-0. So that's how that stands. And folks, before we take off, we got to give a shout out to some of our sponsors. First of all, It's Your Time Massage. Amanda's a wonderful massage therapist. She's the absolute best in the Metro Detroit area. If you need a massage, you need to go to It's Your Time Massage LLC on Facebook, or you can find her at iytmassage.com. Book yourself an appointment. She does Swedish massages, deep tissue massages. She does foot sugar scrubs. She does red light therapy. She does muscle scraping. For a little extra, for all those things for a little bit extra, you can get a CBD oil. She does that for a little extra. You got to check it out. It's Your Time Massage. She's got membership packages. She's got gift cards. She's got all that stuff. So you guys gotta go out and check out It's Your Time Massage on Facebook, iytmassage.com. She is the best of the best of the best. Also, let's go ahead and talk about, and remember, folks, before I get out of there, it's your time.
It is your time.
Got to get that. Also, let's talk about Patch Miracle Photography. Andrew Langland, his wife Chantel, they're the best, and when I say the best, I mean the best photographers in the Metro Detroit area. Man, if you want wedding photos.
What?
Baby pictures.
What?
First birthday pictures.
What?
Graduation pictures.
What?
Engagement pictures.
What?
If you're looking to do a special sexy boudoir shoot for that special someone in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, anything like that. Anything, and on so many other things, they are the best of the best at what they do. The best photographers. They made me look like a movie star on my wedding night.
Brad Pitt?
Hell yeah, I'll look like Brad Pitt all day. But they made me look like a movie star on my wedding night. Check them out, patchmiraclephotography.com, or you can find them on Facebook, Patch Miracle Photography LLC, and they'll take good care of you. They're going to make your extra special days even more special, and they're going to capture those extra special moments. They are incredible. Their pictures are high quality, and we've got a ton of them around here. We had them take pictures of the babies. My wife and I, we have twins. We had them take pictures of the twins. We had them take our wedding photos, our engagement photos. We had them take Christmas photos. We had them take first birthday photos for the twins. They are amazing at what they do. So check it out, patchmiraclephotography.com, or you can find them at Patch Miracle Photography LLC on Facebook. Also, let's talk about Face Kick Apparel. Sean Stockmeyer, his awesome wife, Lisa, they are doing great stuff for all your custom hats, hoodies, T-shirts. You name it, you pick it, they stick it over there at facekickedapparel.com. And Alex, as per the norm,
get your face kicked in with savings.
Absolutely. Also, let's talk about books. We got a wonderful book by an amazing author named Tammy Pruitt, and she wrote a book called I Ate Cookies Out of the Trash, and it's an awesome book by her that you can only find on the .coms. You can find it at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, any of the .coms. You got, as Boots says, you got to You got to type on your keyboard, and you got to go find out about I Ate Cookies Out of the Trash. It's an inspirational guide written by Tammy Pruitt based on her real-life experiences dealing with body image and eating issues, and she shapes this whole book with her struggles and how to overcome them, and it's supported with research-based facts and accompanied by her professional advice as a registered dietitian. She's a scientist, ladies and gentlemen.
Science.
And science, baby. And she lets others know that they're not alone in struggling with self-love and body image and disordered eating. And look, she's not your stereotypical health guru who runs 7 miles a day and judges people for all kinds of the unhealthy food they consume. Instead, she's the friend you never had. She's the kind that encourages you and motivates you to rise above all of those dilemmas in your life. She takes us down memory lane where life pitted challenges against her and what she did to get through them. And she even tells you how and why she ate cookies out of the trash. I'll tell you what, it's an amazing book. It's a great read. You got to go on all the .coms to go get it. And they'll send it to your house, and you can have yourself a cup of tea, have yourself a cup of coffee, hell, have a cold beer if you want. You could go ahead and read I Ate Cookies Out of the Trash. It's an amazing, amazing book. Can't recommend it enough. And then, Alex, we got some streams we got to talk about. First of all, let's talk about the artist formerly known as Big Willie Dubs Gaming. We're going to talk about now known as No Shot Bot TTB. You can find him on the TikTok.
The TikTok.
That's my old man moment for the day. You can find him on the TikTok. You can find him over on Twitch. You can find him on YouTube. Will's doing great stuff. A lot of his shooter stuff is great, but he does a lot of other games and other interactive things that people can jump in on. I mean, whether it's eating nasty jelly beans, challenges to shave his beard, eating hot wings. He did the hot ones challenge one time. Will is doing all kinds of fun stuff on those streams. Check him out. No Shot Bot TV. You can have a look and really enjoy what he's doing. And all donations are very welcome. You know?
Yep, absolutely. Especially since he and the two of us, the next channel we're going to be talking about, are all going to San Diego, California, in the middle of October for TwitchCon. You know, so give till it hurts.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, let's talk about Steel Twins Gaming. Your guys' stream going hard. Alex, Andrew, we're just tearing it up over there. Nostalgic Mondays, still large and in charge. We got voice acting going on. I love what I've been seeing from you guys. I've been seeing a lot of Andrew lately. Man, you guys have just been tearing it up, though.
Yep, absolutely. And, you know, I think, just like you said, you know, we have all of the... we have all of the Nostalgic Mondays, the Legend of Zelda Tuesdays, the Super Mario Fridays. We just had one just this past Friday. You know, I'm starting a Dynasty League in NCAA College Football 26. So each week you're going to see a new Michigan game, as you know, Michigan took on Oklahoma in one of my recent streams. You know, and So we're gonna have you that, and you know, when the winter comes, we're gonna update some more content, you know, and we're going strong with Ghost Trick, Phantom Detective. You know, we're trying to figure out when the next episode there is, but you know, go into YouTube. Do me a favor, go on YouTube, look up the Steel Twins Gaming, and go to the playlists section of our channel and look for our voice acting playlists. We call this the archives. And you know, if you ever wanted to see an old episode and see what we were about, you know, I highly encourage you to check them out. We listen back to them once in a while, every time on a road trip or just if we're bored. You know, we look to entertain you, and you know, and that's the whole idea, is that, you know, we are doing this for the entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. And we love your channel over here. We love what you guys are doing. We love the fact that we're able to stream this podcast on your channel. So thank you for that. We love doing these as streams, as special presentations over here on the Steel Twin Gaming. We're going to be back weekly. We're going to be doing this on the Steel Twin Gaming channel. We're going to be doing it on ours, on all of our platforms, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts. We're going to be over there on Odyssey. So we're going to be doing all that stuff. We're trying to get ourselves on Spotify. That's going to take a little extra minute. I'm trying to figure that out right now. So we're going to try and get ourselves on Spotify. But folks, thank you so much for listening. We've been getting a lot of extra listenership, a lot of new listeners, a lot of people tuning in, and we appreciate every single one of you. this podcast has been going for over 5 years strong now. So I love the fact that we've been doing this. This has just been an experience, and I've been loving every second of it. So thank you so much for listening. For Alex Steele, I'm the fabulous one, Scotty Fraytown. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time right here on the Outside Blitz.
You're probably talking about us because we're the only ones to talk about. Ciao.